Hello. Welcome everybody to Nerdsmith for our very first episode of the Grand Labyrinth Heist, which we're playing here with Nerdsmith Presents as a limited series, which is a great opportunity we're all really excited to be part of, where we get to play with different GM, play with different group of players, and try out new systems. And the system we're trying out for this mini campaign is the Leverage RPG system, a system that specializes in running cons, capers, and heists. And because of that, we are running a heist. We're going to be running a steampunk adventure set in a mysterious floating sky city full of even more mysterious technology, strange robots, and general Victorian buttoned-up nonsense. I'm your GM. My name is Ran. I use he, him pronouns, and I am a writer and a game designer, and this is a setting of my own creation. But first, let's introduce all of our players and then get right into things.
Hey, you all. I am Kay Purcell. I work in video games and do TTRPG stuff every chance I get. You find me at Chaotic Wholesome Presents most of the time. My pronouns are she and they, and I'm going to be playing Alderose Wright, whose pronouns are he and him, and, you know, maybe has an alias or two.
Hello, you beautiful people. My name is Keon, and if you're looking for me on any of my social media, it is going to be Brother Keon. That is BRUTHAQUEON, and my pronouns are he and they. And I will also be playing Franklin this time around, and his pronouns are he and him. And he may or may not know his way around a few security systems and or explosives.
Hi there, guys. I'm Jenny. I use she, they pronouns. You guys may have seen me around on some other Nerdsmith stuff, maybe. I am going to be playing Josephine, or Rosie Josie Dillon, the mastermind from a far-off land who is simply here for the sport.
Hello, everybody. I'm Derek. I use they, ze, and he pronouns. I'll be playing Duolo, who uses they and z pronouns. And they are the Clockmen hitter of the crew, who just does this because it's a good old time.
Awesome. That leaves me. I'm Raven. I am a professional game master, game designer, voice actor, and writer. I do a whole bunch of stuff related to storytelling, especially as it pertains to gaming. I use she and Faye pronouns, and I'm playing Jinx, who is a thief, sort of a Victorian age Robin Hood, though she doesn't give everything to the poor. She keeps enough to keep herself comfortable. But she is sort of a thievery through MacGyvering things. So it's gonna be really fun to play that. I'm looking forward to the game.
Great stuff. So before we fully jump into things, we'd love to give a shout out to some of our sponsors. So thank you to Die Hard Dice for sponsoring the stream. Home to really friendly people, great quality dice and dice accessories. You've got all sorts of great stuff, resin dice, metal dice, Use the code Nerdsmith for 10% off on your next order, and be sure to let them know that we sent you. Hero Forge. Hero Forge is an online character design application that lets you create and buy customized tabletop miniaturized statuettes. So you can head over. They're releasing exciting new features every Tuesday in their pro subscribers. You can use the link to get your pro subscription and help support the network. We've also got World ANVIL, which is a set of world building tools that helps you create, organize, and store your world setting. They're great for campaign building, writing, all sorts of stuff. If you'd like to check it out, you can do that with a Sage membership. Check our link in the chat. Also, we'd love to shout out our artist for this adventure, which is Jay, who has made the busts for this stream. So make sure to follow them. The link is in the chat. But that means that with all of our news done, time for us to jump into our game. Ooh, exciting. So let's start with something a little cinematic. The artifact from a distance. The device hangs in deep, velvety darkness of space. The moon's silver-white light gleaming off a series of interconnected and incredibly intricate copper gears that form an icosahedron that twitches and judders under the light of the stars. The artifact is always in motion, and we don't know what it's for. Some unknown purpose. A machine the size of the moon that shelters what's left of humanity. But why? Where did the artifact come from? Who made it? How did humans get there? We're not going to talk about any of that in this game. Instead, we are going to zoom in, right in. Our camera skims over the churning grey-blue waters of the Wensian River, named for the incredibly wealthy, aristocratic royal family of Weis, the rulers of Labyrinth, the largest city on the device. The city sprawls across an entire face of the device, a dense and heavily packed place full of pollutants that the aristocracy would prefer not to notice. Smoke, smog, tar, and most horrifyingly, the working class. But the banks of the Wensian River teem with people of different sorts. We have children running up and down the mud, searching for any turned-up treasures carried by the current. Dock workers load and unload huge steamer boats with smoke-scarred hulls, carrying trade goods across the dangerous oil-void sea. There are fishermen unloading their morning's catch of mudfish, eels, and razor clams, and those coming home from a long night's work at various all-night establishments. All over, there are robotic horses prancing in place with steamy... Sorry. Oh. I apologize. I'm just getting over COVID and I just have a bit of a cough stuck in my throat. So, robotic horses prance in place with steamy shorts as their... Sorry, I said shorts instead of snorts there. I cannot read the sentence. As their carts and carriages are loaded up with cargo, people, items, it's all the same to them. And narrow-framed metal dogs weave through the crowds, flashing gleaming, razor-sharp teeth at those who get too close to their masters. In some places, amongst the tide of humanity, we see Clockmen. They stick out, all of them a matching, perfect 8 feet and 3 inches tall, with their dull, brushed copper bodies, smooth clockwork movements, and glowing yellow eyes. They speak with smooth, sophisticated voices, and despite their presence in humanity and human society, nobody really knows why they're here. For now, though, we turn our gazes to all the way down the dock, where a large steamship called the Kiss Me Kate, with its heat-scarred hull and soot-stained sailors and smug, smiling captain, are putting out the goods that they've carried for the last 3 months of dangerous facet travel. And stepping off the deck, Jenny, would you like to describe your character?
Sure. So Josephine, or Rosie Josie, is a rather tall, kind of very scarred, curvy woman. She's got very long, dark hair that ends in this very vibrant red. She has one clockwork eye that seems to have a light that flashes every time it moves. Glasses with several lenses, and a large metal plate around the back of her head that seems to lead down her neck. She is wearing very standard cowboy attire with very well embroidered long-sleeved blouse, tight pants that seem to have been well worn. She seems to move very comfortably in them, and very sturdy boots as she steps off with a robot horse in tow.
Yeah. So the horse obviously is very well looked after, clearly several generations old. Copper or steel?
Copper.
Copper. So as you guide the horse down the loading dock and onto the pier proper, you notice a vaguely familiar face, in that he sent you a picture of him so that you would know who you were meeting at the docks. You see Odie, who is a contact of yours, a clockwork engineer, who is your contact point on this side of the oil void sea.
Yeah, she'd step off, stretch. It's been a long journey. She'd kind of settle herself back onto solid land again, try to make sure that her legs aren't going to quake too much before she'd walk up.
Yeah. So Odie, he's a man in sort of his early 20s, quite a bit younger than you. Long blonde hair that he's got pulled back in a neat sort of base of the neck ponytail. He's dressed as someone who sort of is an artisan, has to speak to people who are of a higher station, but isn't particularly rich himself. So, he's wearing a fairly nice white shirt, waistcoat, but then he's also got an apron over the front because he doesn't want to get anything on these clothes. They're like his one set of nice clothes. And as you arrive, you see he looks down at a letter, which you would recognize immediately as a letter you sent, and then looks back up, clearly like matching you to the picture that you sent of yourself.
I thought that I'd at least be a little unique.
I do apologize. It is Josie, right?
Yep.
Right. No, it's obviously you do stick out. I mean, I don't think I've ever met anyone who wasn't from Labyrinth before, but I just like to be sure of things. And he actually holds the photo up like next to your face as if he's matching across, and you hear a little whir of clockwork and see his eye dilate and then readjust as if there is some sort of machinery happening behind his pupil. Fantastic. Yes. Good. So, please, you must be tired. We'll get you a drink. You can sit down. I was speaking with the professor regarding what you mentioned before, in regards to, you said you were looking for work?
That would be right.
Right. And he will sort of lean over and offer to take your case for you, whether you let him or not.
She'd kind of lean up and just set the case onto a little notch on the saddle that is built into her robot horse's back.
Oh, of course. My apologies. Education occasionally gets the better of me that way. But please, and we'll guide you through the streets until you come to one of these sort of dockside pubs. Fairly rough, but it's early in the morning, like maybe 7 or 8 a.m., so it's not exactly full of people. As you come into this space, he guides you through into sort of a small table towards the back. And could I get you to make our first roll of the game? Could you roll it's alert, I believe, is our awareness stat for this game.
Yeah.
And a So this game, for our players and viewers at home, has a term called hacker. Obviously, this world doesn't have computers, so hacking per se is not really the right question. What we would really be terming it instead is engineer or information gathering. So you're going to be rolling hacker plus alertness.
That works for me. Would my espionage or rancher have any sort of impact on either of these things?
Yes, it would. Go ahead and pull your espionage in as well.
Awesome, thank you.
So now I roll to set the DC. Depending on the difficulty of this is a fairly simple thing. So I'm just going to be rolling two d6 to set our DC. And you're going to be rolling against a 9.
Well, that will be a 19.
Easily done. So as you take a seat, you will notice that there is a 7 or 8 year old child seated sort of tucked back at this table. This is a small boy, but in that sort of almost angelic looking way that some kids have at that particular age, sort of blonde curls, bright blue eyes. He's wearing a massive coat that is clearly made for like an adult woman. And sort of tucked himself away so that he isn't noticeable to most of the adults who are passing by here. But when he sees you, he grins, missing a couple of teeth.
She'd just wave.
Odie sort of heads off to the bar, comes back with some tea and like scones, basically, like some food. Sits down and he says, right, well, we're just going to wait on the professor to arrive, and then I'm sure we can get started. Now, you said, as you were coming over here, that you had particular plans? Is that right? That you had something in mind? I'm sorry, you've only just gotten here. I don't want to rush you.
Don't worry, darling. I don't mind talking about my work.
Right, yes. And then the small child unfolds himself from beneath the table, and Odie startles, and the kid goes, right, yeah, so, sorry, you must not. I'm Professor McGee.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you.
Right. And he reaches out to shake your hand.
She'd shake it.
Yeah.
Full grip.
Yep. Yeah, surprisingly strong fingers for such a small child, from this kid. But he sits down and sort of lazes a little bit, like kind of splays out in the chair and goes, right, so you say you want to rob a bank.
Y'all are real open about talking about this kind of thing, huh?
Please, I'm a child. People don't pay attention when I talk.
Fair. Yeah.
And old Paulie, who runs this place, he's in deep. Owes a lot of money on the horses, so he's not going to speak up to the police about nothing.
That's fair. But yes.
So, you want to rob a bank?
Not a bank. The bank.
The bank? You're not... And Odie then speaks up. You don't mean the Grand Labyrinth Bank, surely?
What else would I mean?
And the two of them sort of meet eyes for a second. It's like, well, trying to rob the Great Labyrinth Bank is
impossible.
Suicidal?
Sure. Could call it that.
It's a crazy job.
Okay.
You'd have to be crazy to try it. And what you'd need, at least another 4 people who'd all have to be just as crazy as you.
I'm sure you could find that here. It's not that hard.
And the child sort of scrubs at his jaw again. And it looks like he's trying to do that thing where, like, a middle-aged man with quite a bit of stubble will, like, scratch at the stubble sort of midway through the day. But again, this is a 7-year-old child. So it just looks very strange as body language on this kid. He goes, all right, well, did you have anyone in mind?
Well, the big thing is I'm going to need someone that's good with people. I am, but I'm going to be focusing on planning. Someone that's good with technology, gears, clockwork, the ins and outs of how it works. I'm going to need muscle and someone who may or may not have sticky fingers, if that makes sense.
Odie speaks up and he says, well, I know a fairly good engineer, and from what I understand, he's currently looking for money quite desperately. So perhaps I can put you in touch with someone there. And the kid goes, I know a thief. Pretty easy to get a thief. I assume you want to work with grown-ups?
I'd prefer it.
Yeah.
Don't really like putting kids in danger.
And he like full-on laughs at that. He's like, mate, have you seen the city I live in? I don't think there's anyone here who isn't in some kind of danger.
I'm sure that's the case, but I don't like being the one to do it.
All right. We can probably reach out. A good liar, though, you want a face. Mm-hmm. And the two of them sort of meet eyes, and there's a moment of, like, connection, of, like, deep thought. And then the kid leans in and is like, you know, I think we might have an opportunity for you there, too. And the camera pulls out. So we leave Josie behind for a moment and find ourselves carried up on the wind. A fluttering piece of paper taking us from the dangerous rough and tumble docks all the way up to the fancier end of town, and a hansom cab. So these are those black carriage-type cabs that usually have a horse at the front. The cab itself is polished with a bright, gleaming finish, and an equally gleaming copper horse is in place to take its fares where they need to go. At this moment, the carriage is pulled up in front of a fancy townhouse, where an old man with a bushy white moustache is being walked out to the cab by a simpering woman in her mid-40s. Her husband, who himself has a rather fancy moustache, is currently pressing a check into the old man's hands. We're very happy to advance you the funds, Mr. Rosen, considering what you've promised us on the return. Says this man. I'm very happy we've had this opportunity to make acquaintances with you. But before the old man can properly respond other than to take the check, the woman has already looped her arm through the old man's arm. And she frowns a little bit and goes, oh, Mr. Rosen, you're far more muscled than I would have expected from a man of your advanced years. Okay, would you like to describe your character?
Yes, for now, all you can see is this very, like, stooped, hunched man with this bristly gray mustache and a hat kind of pulled low. And it's like, oh, it's good, clean living, hard work, you know, other people's hard work, of course. It's lovely. And kind of pats her arm and slowly making sure the hand quivers just enough reaches for the check.
Fantastic. Could I get a grifter check from you? And considering how you've described this, I think that intelligence would be the best pull here.
That gives me that, and I, assuming my fashionable clothing will give me the D6 for that as well.
Indeed.
Excellent.
So you'll be rolling against a 7 DC.
Okay. And for what it's worth, because I am in disguise and I do have the Master of Disguise feat, I'm assuming I also get to use disguise to add a D6 to my roll.
Absolutely.
And if I successfully fool someone, you can't use complications.
Oh, handy.
7, 10, 13, 14.
14. All right, easily done. So this has been, what, a month's worth of work on this con? Finally getting this closed. And as you take this check that makes out £2, which is a staggering amount of money. That's about a month's worth of work for someone who works at like a a bank or an office job, so someone who is in the lower middle class.
They have to
You
do
take-
that every day. Nope.
You take this check, fold it in half, and you can see your friend, who owns a handsome cab, is sort of sitting waiting for you with a little bit of a nervous sweat around his hairline. No matter how many times you get him to just pick you up after a job, he's always like, they're going to arrest me. Even though it's been years.
Someday he will learn to trust me, and I just do all the pleasantries that I have to. And thank you. I'll contact you tomorrow as soon as this. Thank you all. I can't. I'm so excited to invest in this together, and we'll hobble slowly up into the handsome cab. It's making a very big display of it.
As you're leaving, you hear the wife say to the husband, and she goes, I can't believe we're going to have a bridge with our name on it. As you sort of depart into the cab. Now, as soon as the cab closes, you hear the snap of the reins, the whinny of the robot horse, and the cab picks up, heading off down the cobbled streets. Now you're alone inside.
Huge sigh of relief, pulls off the hat, pulls off the wig, the mustache comes off. You see, rises to their full size. You see an individual who is quite large for Victorian era. Certainly not the bodybuilder idea that we would have today, but that Victorian strongman where they're still a little bit effeminate, but like very broad, with slicked back blonde hair, freckles, steel gray eyes, and like cheekbones that could kill. And he kind of looks at the check again, turns it over to make sure it's, just verifying it's real, and he'll lean forward and kind of rap on the thing and be like, well, Roland, we did it.
Yeah, that's another one down. Another one down. I feel great about this. I feel great about this, Roland says, with that absolute nervousness of someone who is just so glad that he hasn't been arrested yet today.
Really need to work on your poker face.
This is already better than it was. I'm getting better. This is an improvement.
True.
I didn't cry this time.
I could see you sweating from under the wig.
Yeah, but I didn't cry this time.
Very proud of you.
Okay.
You'll have your cut tomorrow.
All right. I just wanted to let you know I did get a telegram from Miss Ethel down on Pink Street. Did you want me to drop you by and talk to her? She said she had big news for you about some sort of opportunity.
Yes, that's interesting. And he will reach up and like muss the blonde hair, and it suddenly goes like floppy and like this shaggy blonde cut as he starts to like adjust the clothing and becomes just a little bit more prim and posh looking rather than a stuffy old man.
I assume this is very much that sort of, as the camera sort of pans out, it's like the back of the limo in the Princess Diaries, where you're like one leg in the air, quickly getting changed into a different outfit. Roland has to dodge a shoe as you make your way through the streets of Labyrinth.
I would never lose a shoe.
Okay. A sock?
If it had a hole in it.
Fair enough.
Only if.
So you get taken downtown into a poorer part of town where you get a chance to go speak to your go-to forger, Ethel Cormac. Now, heading over to Ethel's house is one of those very narrow apartment buildings that has like 8 apartments all stacked right on top of each other that used to be one house. Ethel lives on the ground floor with her 16 cats. She's roughly, I mean, you look at her and you think maybe 300, but probably 80 years old. She took up forging after her last grandchild moved out of the house and became incredibly good at it incredibly quickly. So as you arrive, knock on the door, hear the absolute chorus of meowing that comes from inside. And then the rattle of Ethel's wheelchair. She comes and opens the door. She says, Ah, George.
Hi. And just everything about this demeanor is different. There's like hooded eyes and this kind of dopey expression. I heard you wanted something. Lucy isn't, and is immediately looking for the mean cat. Lucy isn't out, is she?
She's a kitten. Don't worry about her.
Like, rubs where there's a scar.
Come on in, come on in. And she sort of wheels the wheelchair back to make space for you in this very narrow corridor. Stacks of newspapers on either side of the door. Faded family portraits on the walls. Some of them are people. Some of them are just Ethel with like 20 cats. None of them the same cats as are currently in the house.
Nothing but respect. That's my life goal.
Yeah. She is smoking a nasty little like black roll-up cigarette. And so ushers you in, wheels you into the living room where an architect's drafting table is sitting. She goes, right, now I've got a big opportunity for you coming down the line here, George. I know you've mentioned to me before that you're after a birth certificate for someone of a more advanced rank.
Yeah, I've got a friend who would really like that.
Right, well, I've just gotten all the stuff together. Now, how's your paradoxian accent? Can you pull that off? Can you do paradox?
What?
All right, well, this might be a challenge for you, but maybe a friend will be able to manage it. Now, what I've got is I've got a receipt for a death of a baby boy from about 28 years back. He was meant to be
sad.
Again, 28 years ago, George, he wasn't going to do too well anyway. Now, he was part of the nobility out there in Paradox. But the fact of the matter is, a friend of mine in the morgue found that certificate had been misfiled all those years ago. So, the government doesn't actually know that this kid is dead. Which means, if you can get together the 60 pounds for me to put together those documents for you, I'll be able to whip up a clean name, a history, and most importantly of all, a written nobility. This is you or your friend. I'm not going to ask no questions. You know me, my sister, she's very happily married to a young lady. Well, a 70-year-old lady. But, you know, whoever it is who needs this document, if they can get me the 60 pounds, it's theirs.
Okay. Is this a race? Are there other people?
I can hold on to it for about 2 weeks. Now, you've always been a good customer of mine, so I wanted to offer it to you first. But
thanks.
I also know that there's a fella down in the skeleton clique who would be very interested in setting himself up all official.
Okay. 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
15 days?
Yeah, close enough. Yeah, 15
14.
days.
Okay.
You're a good kid. And she reaches out and like pats you on the knee.
We'll do like a very like formal kind of flouncy bow and deliberately almost knock over some newspapers and make like a big deal of like correcting.
My stories. Sorry. What are you doing?
Sorry. They're safe. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, but if you can go run down to the corner store, get me some smokes on your way out, okay?
Okay. Just don't let Lucy out. And
she's a kitten. And just from in the distance, you hear the sound of a cat very clearly killing another animal in the backyard.
It just winces because been there.
The sound of feline violence.
Mm-hmm.
Lucy's a whole ass mountain lion.
She's a kitten. But 60 pounds is a hell of a lot of money. That's more than most people would make in 5 years.
Yeah. Al kind of steps out and hops back into the coach with Roland and It's like, all right, got to work on the accent. How does this work? Got to work on the accent. All right. Practicing. It's gonna keep running lines.
Yep. All right. So from there, you're going to need to find a way to make a lot of money very quickly. Perhaps there's someone else who's also looking to make a lot of money very quickly. But leaving good old Al behind for now, the wind picks up again and carries our camera once again back down into the even poorer part of Labyrinth. We're on Pink Street, next to the Petticoat Market. So we're deep in the garment district of Labyrinth. Not too far from the theatre quarter, just north of Geartown, you know, sort of that kind of an area. Anyway, jammed between a haberdasher and a butcher, we find the Sticky Gear. The Sticky Gear is a not too dangerous kind of a pub, owned by a man in sort of his mid to early 40s, dark hair that's been brushed back very neatly, waxed moustache, who's currently picking up a bunch of mail. And as he picks it up and is leafing through the mail, he sees something that makes him frown, tucks that piece of mail into his waistcoat pocket, weaves his way through the chairs in the pub, up some stairs, goes past what's clearly like his front door. You can hear the sounds of domestic life behind it. Further up, until we get all the way up into the roof, where we find another apartment door, where he knocks. Who opens the door, Keon?
After some rummaging and a couple fumblings through some things, opens the door. You see Franklin. Franklin is about 5'8", 5'9". He's got curly black hair with big, large goggles on top of his head. Since he is home, he has his big, his smock filled with all the baubles and trinkets and everything that he's collected throughout his time. His face is a little smudged at the moment. Foley, what's up? What's going on? You're
I've got mail for you. It's... I don't think you're going to be happy about this one, Frankie. And he passes over the letter. And you can see that this letter is addressed to Mr. Franklin from St. Meredith's House for Troubled Children.
These damn hags.
I've also got a note from Odie, you know, the fella who runs that gear shop up on 9th Street?
The Clockmen?
No, he's the one who works with that fella, the little kid who runs around stealing fucking everything he can get his hands on.
The small little weasel. I got it.
That's the guy. Yeah.
What does he want?
Says he's got some big opportunity, but it sounds a bit dangerous, to be honest, considering, you know, you've only just been out for a little bit of time. I don't know if you want to get back into it that fast, but I promised I'd pass it along.
How did he find out that I was even out?
I don't know. Could you give me a grifter alertness, please?
Grifter alertness.
I'm going to roll this a d6 and a d4 because you know Michael very well. So he's not very good at lying.
Okay, cool.
He only got a 3, so you just got to beat a 3 with your grifter and alertness.
Would my observant have anything to do with
Absolutely.
this?
Yeah, observant will definitely help you.
So what am I adding to that again?
So your dice for grifter, your dice for alertness, and for your observant, that's a d6.
Beautiful. All right. Does a 14 do it?
Absolutely. You get the feeling that Michael maybe got a bit drunk because he was happy his friend was back, and maybe spilt the beans. Maybe at like a poker night or something similar to that, or at like the street hall where all of the other guys who own bars get together and sort of talk business. And he was maybe a little loose-lipped, which unfortunately is one of Michael's flaws. He's a great dude, would give you the shirt off his back, but cannot keep a secret to save his life.
Mikey, since you could have been honest with me if you were the one who just let it slip that I was out. I get it. You've been alone since I was in, but come on, man.
I mean, maybe I mentioned it to Graham, but Graham's fine. He's quiet. He wouldn't have told anyone. But perhaps Shelley overheard? No. He's pretty solid. And then he goes on and lists like maybe 8 people who have found out that you're already out of prison.
Okay. So
I don't think any of them would have said anything.
From the list of 17 people that you've just given me, it's possible. Now, my question, did they mention money?
Yeah, he said it was a big opportunity. But,
slams the door shut and starts reading the notes.
All right, well, I'll talk to you later then. And you sort of hear the creak of the stairs as he heads off. So which note would you like to read first? I'm
going to read the... money, yeah, my brother. I'm going to read the one from the orphanage.
Okay. Look, Michael was right. You're not happy to read it. As you look into this paperwork, it is a letter of courtesy to you, letting you know that there has been an offer to adopt. Unfortunately, the people who are looking to adopt is one of the big loom houses. Now, in this era, there are no laws against child working. There are no child labor laws. And the loom houses like kids because they can reach into the big machinery and untangle things and refix little bits of cogwork. However, they don't turn off any of the machines while they get the kids to do that. So it's very dangerous. They go through a lot of children very quickly. In return for that, though, it means they pay the orphanages very well for them. So this is a letter from the Mother Superior of St. Meredith's saying that since you have been known to the house for such a long time, they are going to offer you the opportunity to essentially buy your brother first before they send him off to the loom house. Of course, in order to do that, they would ask that you, at least double the donation that's being offered in return for Davis's adoption, which would come out to £25. They have said the adoption doesn't go through until the 1st of next month, which gives you about 20 days to organize this. But again, that's more money than most people see in a year.
So when he gets down to the bottom where it says £25, Franklin runs to the corner, past all, crumbles up the piece of paper, throws it off to the corner in another pile of other pieces of paper, and runs to the corner and pulls out a box and counts out £2, if that. How do they expect me to get £25 in 20 days? Okay. And then that Odie sent the note and starts reading that one to see what.
Essentially, so Odie works in very much the same line of business you do. That's sort of how you've heard of him, how he's heard of you. And he essentially is saying, I have an acquaintance who is looking for someone with your skill set. She is interested in putting together a task force. I know you're in touch with a Clockmen who's pretty strong, a pretty good load of muscle. If you can get him in on it too, they'll cut you in for a little bit extra. It's really dangerous, but the payout will be worth it. There's no specifics, nothing like that. And then sort of, if you're interested, come by, and then his store address at some point after closing. And then in little brackets, like 8 p.m.
Got it. So Franklin, after reading over the note, he grabs his belt, which has like little trinkets on it, and a couple of them are like actual mechanical toys that he's made and things that like that he kind of leaves for the kids around town, and a couple that he takes to the orphanage. And head hung low, kind of like breathes it out. He's like, it's fine. I didn't want to get back into work so soon, but if I could have an option to get my brother back, then this is the way that I would do it. And heads downstairs, like stomps down the steps super loud. He's the worst upstairs neighbor to have.
As you are stomping down the stairs, you actually hear the sound of incredibly heavy footsteps on the stairs heading up. And sort of as you come down the stairs face to face, we see Derek. Would you like to describe your character?
Of course. In front of you stands a large mechanical man made of silver and bronze. Though unlike the rest of the Clockmen that you see, Z has large lenses that are made of obsidian glass, so almost like large emotionless eyes. They wear a like paperboy cap and a tattered fabric shirt with leather pants, and a also tattered blazer that is on top of their shirt. And they kind of weren't expecting to run into you on the stairs, and you see they kind of sit there and go, oh, just who I was looking for.
So, Jolo, we, as the camera sort of pulls back, we see that you have a large crumpled section in your stomach, and we have a quick flashback to the night before. An establishment in the basement, a sawdust-strewn ring surrounded by drunk people of various types waving money in the air, as we see Jolo getting ready for a bare-knuckle boxing fight. We hear an announcer calls in and says, in the red corner, our reigning champion, coming in at 8 feet 4 inches and 508 pounds. It's the Wrench! And just everyone like, whoa, yeah, fuck him up, kill that guy, kill that guy. And in the blue corner, our challenger, coming in at 5 feet 6 inches and 132 pounds. It's Davy Unlucky Commons. And we see this much weedier dude, also like stripped to the waist, bandaged knuckles, looks to you and then looks up and goes like faintly green. And we're going to do a hitter check for how this fight went.
Okay.
So what's the tactic here?
I think I want to do, I believe that, so Duo's probably going to use intelligence to try to not kill this guy.
So you want to come at this tactically, so you know how to not like accidentally punch him so hard he dies. Yeah. Okay. So Davey is pretty unlucky, but he is good enough to be here fighting. So he's going to get 2d6 for his roll, is what you're going to be trying to do.
Okay.
So he did not roll well. He got a 6 total for you to beat. So you're going to roll your hitter dice, your intelligence, and then do you have any specialties that would be relevant here?
So no, because I don't want to pick up something that to make it a weapon, because I'm trying to be careful.
Yeah. Okay. So just those 2 dice.
So I got a 7.
Okay. So that is pretty much even. Okay. So you do come out the victor, but it turns out that Davy is called Unlucky as sort of one of those ironic nicknames, like calling really tall people short. Like you might be like, oh, hey, shorty, to like a 6'5" guy. He's called Unlucky because he has the luck of the devil. So you go to punch him and he like slips, but slips just enough to go under your fist. And it's like a slapstick fight for a solid 3 or 4 minutes. He gets a couple of lucky hits on you, which lead to this dent, which is why, as we fast forward back through to this day, you have come to see your good friend Franklin.
What did you do?
It is not what I did. It is what happened.
Okay. Come on in. And I go back to the room, and like as I'm going back to the door, I unlock every lock that I've got.
So, Julio, you have to wait for like a solid 3 minutes while Franklin like undoes 12 deadlocks and then relocks one lock 2 times, which is how he actually opens it properly, and like undoes a little like a trip wire that has been set up, and it's like it's elaborate.
It's a thing. Okay.
It would be easier if I kicked it open.
You did that last time, and it took me forever to find a door that actually fit for this. So please don't. I appreciate you, but no.
Okay.
Come on. Find a place to sit or lay, whatever, and I will fix this mess that you have created. Or whoever did it.
Z will lay like in the center of like the living room space. Just like a clunk on the ground. Is this good?
That's fine, my love. Okay. And he goes to grab like a hammer and like a blowtorch to go and like fix him.
Thankfully, it seems like it's mostly cosmetic damage, so it just takes a little bit of time for you to do.
So did you at least win? Is all I ask.
Of course. Why wouldn't I have?
Hey, just looking at your innards, you look like you lost, my love.
He got a couple lucky hits, but he was unlucky.
While you're down there, I pass him the slightly crumpled note from Odie. Looks like there might be a job, and the hags down at the orphanage are trying to sell off Davis, and I would love to not let that happen. I would also love to get the fuck out of this damn town.
So you need my help.
They did say that they would raise the money if you came.
Well, it's in my nature to do hard work.
Thank you. Now, if we do this, I'm leaving and you're gonna have to find a new mechanic.
If I could understand sadness, I think I'd be feeling it.
I love you too, buddy. Love you too.
Excellent. So from there, the camera carries out the window, away from the sticky gear, but only a few streets away, where we see a bustling market, where we see people buying and selling things from food, clothes, buttons, specific spools of embroidery thread. This is very much a garment type market that also has the everyday essentials. First, everything seems fine until a woman in a pink dress goes to buy a loaf of bread and finds that her purse is missing. From there, a commotion sort of seems to strike up in this market. Wallets missing, purses, bits of jewelry, watches gone off wrists or out of pockets. And finally, we see a set of nimble hands as we turn the corner into Lead Lane, where we see Jinx. Raven, please describe your character.
Yeah, so she is pretty unassuming for the most part. Like, she blends into crowds pretty well. She's just got like some basic like dark denim kind of pants, and like an off-white undershirt with a dark colored sort of light coat over that. And the only thing that really makes her stand out among the people in the street is she does have slightly purple hair. It's I actually did some research for this, finding out what sort of unnatural hair colors were around back then, and there was a dye that would give a little bit of a purple color to hair, and it's what she uses on hers. And as people are going, where did my wallet go or my jewelry, she's just sort of standing around blending in, being like, that's so weird, where did it all go?
Fantastic. And so as you make your sort of quiet escape into a smaller laneway, into an alley, we see a group of children sort of melt out of the shadows. They're sort of ranging in ages between maybe like 9 and about 14. So these like kids, not quite like proper teenagers yet. And one of the older girls, who's maybe 13, two braids, braces, but otherwise dressed very stereotypically what we would think of as like a Dickensian orphan, looks up at you and says, Jinx, we've had words about this. You can't be operating in Petticoat Market. That's our territory.
Me operating in here? That sounds like my least favorite thing to do.
Look, I've had words with the professor, and he's been very generous. He said we don't have to break both your legs this time.
That's generous of you, I suppose.
Unless you want to hand over all the gear and go away.
I suppose you all can use it more than me anyways. And she reaches inside of her bag and pulls out basically everything that she just stole.
Just tangle of like watch chains. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
Hands that over, and then like shakes out her sleeve, and a bunch more jewelry pours out of that, and then takes off a boot and pulls out a couple of like
it's like a wallet that's been
like a wallet, or like a, what's the word I'm looking for? Money clip. That's what I was looking for. So like a money clip full of bills.
So they begin to sort of parcel this out, and the girl goes, Jinx, why don't you just fall in with some group? I know you've got friends in the clique. I'm sure they'd be happy to take you on.
Yeah, but then I'd get stuck doing the same kind of job over and over and over again, and that's boring.
Yeah, but being a sole operator isn't going to get you anywhere here. You need someone to look after you. You're just going to end up getting rolled by any group of, 6-10-year-olds with clubs that you pass by. And so one of the kids who was holding like the equivalent of a 2x4 with some nails in the end is like, she's right,
Oh yeah, speaking of that, hold on. Let me see that real quick. And she pulls out like the Victorian equivalent of like duct tape. So the sort of like durable cloth that's been coated with sticky substance on one side. She's like, here, if you wrap this around the handle, you'll get a better grip and you get much better swing.
And the little girl like knuckles at her forehead and goes, okay, well, you're crazier than we were planning on for this time of the morning, Jinx. Why don't you just go on about your business, stay out of our way, and maybe you'll run into some people as deranged as you are who also don't want to do the same thing every day. And shakes her head, and the little
That would
clips on
be
the end of her braids go like,
amazing. I love that. Yeah, she's like, that would be amazing. That'd be the best job ever.
yeah. Oh, you know what? Actually, and she like clicks her fingers a couple of times. You know, the professor put out earlier today that he was looking for someone just like you for something.
Oh.
And the camera sort of spins around, and we can see that there is a little note that she has that says like, "We need someone crazy. We need someone who will do something really stupid and won't think it. Put the word out."
Oh, I see. So he sent you word that you needed somebody devastatingly cute, very talented with her hands to steal things, and pretty dang smart when it comes to out engineering traps and locks and that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. He took the words right out of his mouth.
I mean, I'm a really good thief. I don't know if I could steal words, though. That seems... I mean, they're not really tangible.
Hey, don't let that limit you.
Huh. Maybe I'll work
Okay.
on that.
Yeah.
Anyways, what's the details on the job?
And she tells you the same thing that Franklin got in his note. Essentially, go to this address at this time, ask for this person, and you'll get more information.
All right, sweet. I'll head there now. Thanks for the heads up.
You're very welcome. Stop stealing from our victims. Sort of is called after you as you leave.
Look at it this way. Now you can just have the loot.
So we're going to fast forward a little bit in time, and we come to the workshop of Odie. It's sort of a small glass-cased shop, very closed off front so that people can't really see in other than through a very small window that has gold lettering that says like Odie's watches, filigree, and fine copper work.
Love
Who
it.
do you think gets there first? Other than Josie, who's already there.
I think Jinx is going to get there last because she absolutely, undoubtedly will get distracted by something shiny or see a lock that looks fun to pick and she'll just work on it.
I feel like
Alvaro's,
Franklin and Duolo get there first, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. Alvaro's, you will have heard of this through another few contacts of yours, of just someone saying they'll pay a hell of a lot of money for not too much work. And, you know, it's a little bit suspicious, but you really need the money. And you
I
need
actually
it quickly.
think George might be the one there first, but has been there for like an hour, just like lounging and talking and asking about every watch and every little piece of jewelry, like just so that they can see who comes in and kind of get a
So
feel
you're-
for people.
You're lightly harassing one of the salespeople, getting them to pull out like every tray and explain every pocket watch. And do you think it would match with this chain? Do you think it would match with that chain? What if I wanted to wear blue?
Yeah, so like I'm really looking for something that's like really versatile, but also not like too posh, but also posh enough, you know? So it could like, I need something that could be dressed up and dressed down. And do you think gold is too tacky? I don't know.
Naturally, sir. Well, perhaps we can take a look at the 3 shilling options. And she pulls out another tray. So that will be what Franklin and Jewel are working on. So we have Rosie, Josie behind the counter. So just how are you waiting for these people who you've asked for to show up?
She's definitely leaned back in a chair, like tilted back on the back 2 legs with her feet up on the countertop. She's got her hat kind of down over her eyes and she's snoozing.
Do you think that Franklin or Julo, have you guys met Alderos before at all?
Maybe one of their personalities or
I think-
alter egos.
I think you've definitely drank with George. But
Oh, okay.
I because George is kind of a fixture at different pubs and bars, just to like hear what's going on, pick up mannerisms, figure out who they're going to impersonate. But yeah, I think the Al's identity is actually pretty locked down.
Yeah, I don't
But
think
you
I've ever
probably
met Al.
recognize, yeah, you probably recognize like George, who just is often just like, the biggest mug, and is just like talking to anyone, and just, yeah.
So you're George right now, right?
Definitely George. Yeah, the hair is shaggy,
Sweet.
the clothes are a little bit posh, just a big dopey smile.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I feel like I may have seen a personality at the haberdashery with Maud Hottie getting making hats and stuff. If you needed hats for like a disguise or something, so I visit there quite often. So I may have seen you in passing, but not really talked to you.
Yeah, that tracks.
Whereas I think, Alderose, you will definitely recognize Franklin and Duolo. They are both very well regarded in their niches. So sort of the fact that these two people are here makes you go, oh, this is a serious offer. This is going to be a serious group of people. They've got one of the best engineers, one of the, like, an amazing information gatherer, very skilled at what he does. Has been out of the game for a little while, not sure what happened there, but he's recently returned to the scene. And Duolo hits people real hard. When Duolo hits people, they don't get back up. And is usually not too easy to convince to do a job unless it's something that they would find interesting.
Yeah, I think at that point, seeing that there are interesting people, Al doesn't give it up just yet, but it's kind of like, okay, well, I gotta like think about this. So if you want to like, you can like, oh, there's like, might need to talk to the customer. I'm gonna look at and it's just gonna start like hyper focusing on each watch individually, so they don't have to keep up conversation and can just eavesdrop.
And you just see the poor girl behind the counter, her face go completely like that sort of customer service, I'm dying inside, and she's like, of course, sir, please take your time.
I think Duolo points at Josie and goes, is the one sleeping on their break, or could they help us?
Have I been to Odie's often before?
Maybe a couple of times. It's more of a name you know than a person you know, if that makes sense.
Got you.
And like, you guys have arrived maybe 5 minutes before closing, knowing that you're meant to be there at closing.
Got you. Trying to figure out if I would have recognized Josie as somebody who's new in town, or
why don't you give me a hacker intelligence?
I love the sound of that.
Because again, I'll remind for our listeners at home, hacker is all about information gathering as well as technology and tools.
So that would toss in my observant too, though, right?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Your DC for this is 7.
Oh, great. I don't know how, but I got an 8.
Very well done. So not only do you go, I don't recognize that woman, and she's behind the counter, so she's some way privileged, but also she's wearing clothes that look very different from the make and style of anything that you've seen in this city, and you've always lived in Labyrinth. So you're like, that's a weird coat. I've never seen a coat like that. Her boots, which I assume are cowboy boots, correct me if I'm wrong, Jenny. Her boots have like weird black oil caked on the soles. We don't get that kind of oil around here. Like, she looks not necessarily foreign, but strange.
I'm gonna say to Dulo, I think she's exactly who we are looking for, actually. And walk up and just, by the way, I didn't mention this because brain fart. Franklin has his entire right arm is a clockwork arm. So it's all metallic and all lovey-dovey, all that good stuff. So it's like he puts it on the counter and it makes like a clank to kind of alert her to wake up. Excuse me, miss?
Am I just supposed to assume that y'all don't know how to read a clock?
Am I just supposed to assume that you didn't ask us to come here?
Said after 8.
Early is on time.
7:55.
Time is late.
Not when timing's important. You can wait
That's why
5
it's
minutes.
important. Oh. You asked for my assistance, though, correct?
You can wait 5 minutes. I don't want anyone stepping in here and hearing things they don't need to be hearing.
I look around to see here.
Franklin, I seem to agree with this new woman. Discretion is needed.
Fair enough. Could you at least show me a watch or two, miss?
You can ask someone who actually works here.
Okay, all right.
So does
He
this
looks at-
watch come with
he
like a
looks at
longer
Dula.
chain?
You can certainly buy any series of accessories, sir. And she pulls out like another tray of stuff.
Please, God, purchase something.
And you can just see her being like, maybe if I could just sell him up, if I just keep upselling, this will be worth it. Like, this will have been worth the 45 minutes of my life. Like, if I could make a massive commission, maybe. Maybe.
Maybe I won't go home and cry.
Yeah. You can already see her being like, okay, well, movies and ice cream don't exist yet. So I guess I'll go get a very stiff drink and complain to my roommate about my horrible day at work. But as we sort of see these interactions, we are going to take our break here. And when we get back, it's time to start planning a heist, everybody.
Yeah.
I hope we're all excited.
I'm so
ready to hit
excited.
things.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in for the first half of this. Hopefully, you're all having a great time, and we should see you in the second half, not too long away. And hello, welcome back. Thank you for coming back, everyone who did. And we are going to come back to Odie's Gear Shop, a small, dusty little store in the poorer part of the Cogwork district of the Labyrinth City, where we find everyone except Jinx at like 2 to 7, just a little bit early at this point, as the last girl in the shop desperately waits for George to please finish buying a watch because she wants to go home.
No,
we
George
have
just got he just keeps, well, so would this come with a different face? Because, like, I kind of like the face, but maybe the color could be, like, different.
Let me check in the back for you. And she steps behind the girl. There's just that, for Josie, who's right next to it, you hear the customer service sigh of, I'm outside of the customer's view. They're like, oh, okay. And she continues what she was doing back then.
Looks like it's closing time. Perhaps you could make a purchase another day.
Whoa. Like, I'm tall, but you're, like, really tall.
That is a fact.
Yeah.
That is an astute assumption.
I'm very astute.
George, you're gonna have to forgive him. He's really good at hitting things, but not the greatest at conversation.
Oh, I've had a nice conversation. Was that bad?
No.
I'm good at talking.
Yeah, anyway. I start looking at like other watches and shit. I'm like,
so this being a cog parlor, it's not just watches and small goods, but there's also things like replacement gears for bionic parts. There are, you can see a set of really beautifully turned and filigreed like hand plates for replacing the plates on a metallic hand if you wanted to like change the look. It's sort of a lot of miscellaneous clockwork stuff, as well as what we would consider like complete projects like a watch.
All right, darling. I think you can probably go home. I don't think they're gonna make a purchase.
And the girl from behind the counter, who is like, as you like peek back through it, you can see her rubbing circles on her temples, and she's like, but Odie said, if you're right, this is not what. If he tries to say I should have sold the watch, I'll tell him to complain to the union. And she gathers up her coat and like her little muff, because it's very cold outside at the moment, puts on her hat because she is a good young lady of a certain age and breeding, and passes you the key because she's been told that you're going to lock up because you're a friend of the owners, and says her goodbyes. And yeah, you are alone in this shop with these three strangers. You've been told there's a fourth person coming at some point, but maybe they're late.
I think Jinx is going to show up about 5 minutes late.
And also, like, it is very not obvious that George is the other person that's being waited for. So there's just this customer who's just like, "Whoa, Franklin, this isn't the pub. It's good to see you. How have you been? Hey, that piece would look really good on your arm."
Oh, thank you. Why are you here?
Oh, my pocket watch broke.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's okay to say that you are supposed to be here. But I don't think you want to watch.
Who's supposed to be anywhere, really?
Could I get a grifter versus grifter check?
Yeah.
I think this is hilarious.
As Franklin tries to figure out if George is lying or not, and George, who lies like he breathes, tries to lie.
So one of my distinctions is himbo, unassuming.
That's true. That'll get you a D4.
Excellent.
So are we tossing in alertness or is this intelligence?
I'll let you pick.
Okay, it's the same, so
yeah,
it doesn't.
Could I do something behind the scenes as well, like doing the same thing? Because she'd be analyzing each of them. Yeah. Could I include my espionage?
Yes, absolutely.
Cool.
I will say from this point on, I need you guys to tell me if you roll a 1 on any of your dice.
On any of them?
Any of your dice at any point. If you roll a 1, let me know. Because that's how we start to generate our complications and our advantages, which from this point on will be more relevant.
Arguably, could I also read into this?
Yeah, you can try.
Because one of my distinctions is also insightful.
Mm. Yep, that'll definitely be relevant here.
Grifter. And it's alertness?
Alertness or intelligence, you pick.
They're the same die. And then it's a D4 for the distinction?
Yeah.
What's it looking like, Georgie boy?
It's only a 26.
Oh, here I was thinking that my 11 did something.
My 10 did good.
This is what I do.
You walked into the wrong room, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Tried to pick a fight with the wrong guy.
I'm not even picking a fight. I like this one. I think George is very attractive.
Damn.
But no, okay. Well, I'm glad you're here nonetheless.
Hey, there was a nice lady who was helping me.
I think you might have scared her off, love.
He went home.
I know that it's less than a 26, but do I get anything with a 23?
You certainly get that this guy seems to know these other two people. They appear to be at least casual friends. And you might catch that there might be a little bit more to meets the eye here, but you won't know whether that's he's pretending to be richer than he is, or he's actually slumming it and he's very rich, or if he's pretending to be stupider or he's pretending to be smarter. You just know there's something you're missing.
All right. Well, what I'm going to assume here is you, with the size of you, are going to be my muscle. Yes? Yes.
I am Duolo, and I reach out a hand.
Pleasure.
It's like a very like abrupt shake, so like your body probably like goes up and down a little bit with it.
She's been kicked by a metallic horse. It's fine.
Yeah, a metallic horse and a Clockmen probably have around the same level of strength.
Yeah.
You'll be safe with me on your team.
Team, are we playing a game?
I'm going to assume you seem real intelligent, which is why I piss you off.
Hmm.
None of you look
Talking
like
to
you
me?
have any sort of... Yes. None of you look like any of you have any sort of sticky fingers, so I'm assuming that's who we're waiting for. You're real pretty. And you're
Yes.
hiding something. I don't know what it is, which is surprising to me, because
Starts
usually
reaching
I do
into
know.
pockets, like looking confused.
What constitutes pretty?
So you must be the face. Yeah? My sweet talker. The persuasive one.
I have a face.
This is just George.
Alright, sure. So I'm gonna wait until everyone's here.
On that note, Rad, what would I need to roll to just have snuck in and just be sitting at the table right now while y'all are having that conversation?
Give me thief and vitality.
Thief and vitality, okay. Sweet, that's a 10.
Okay, could I get an alertness from everyone? No roll, just alertness. When I say roll, I do mean your role in the crew. Unfortunately, some of this terminology is a little confusing.
It makes sense on paper.
So just the one die roll.
Just the one die roll, and then I'm going to get you to add a flat 4 to it, which is like our standard. If we don't know what to add, we can add a 4. So roll alertness, add a 4.
That is a 13.
13?
That is
10.
a 10.
10.
12.
12. Okay, and you got a 10, was it?
Yeah, I got a 10.
Okay, so you will all notice Jinx as she slides through, having unlocked the front door, slides through and like quietly tries to make her way to the table in the back. It's not that she isn't stealthy, it's just that all of you are very perceptive people.
Speak of the devil, would you mind locking that door on your way in?
But, oh, me?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, sure.
Yes, you, darling.
And she'll go walk over, lock the door back, and then sit
And
back
this
down.
is supposed to be a slink?
I guess you are the sticky fingers.
Huh.
At this point, I think
Damn it.
Al and Jinx like their eyes meet. And I was like, right, so what I want to know is, and like just their entire demeanor changes as their eyes go hard. They like slick their hair back. They're like, I want to know how someone I've never heard of, someone I've never seen before knew who I was, knew how to put out word for me.
George, what is going on?
At that point, Jinx is like, what's up, Al?
He
Just-
changed how he looked. Is this confusion?
Very much so.
Hi, Franklin. Puts out a hand. Aldero's right.
Uh-huh.
And you've
I will-
definitely heard that
I've
name.
heard the name. So
I'm sorry
you're
you
telling
said
me
that I went ace detective.
Objection.
So you're telling me that you've been Alderos this entire time?
Easier to hear things, is George.
Who
He's
is
just a fixture.
Alderos is George.
I understand that, but in the figurative sense, who is Alderos? Not the physical sense. I know he is Alderos.
I'm a
That's-
charlatan. I'm a con man. You can call me Al.
Huh.
And yes, I can be your face, if I trust you.
During this reveal, Jinx just has like a bag of like roasted nuts that she's just eating, like she's eating popcorn watching a movie. She's just enjoying this whole thing.
As I notice the nuts, I will hold my hand out, because I must attempt to eat food anytime there is some, despite my mouth not being able to open.
Yeah, Jinx happily hands you a couple like, oh yeah, here you go.
I just smash them into my face.
An eyebrow
That's,
just goes up and up.
That's one way to do it, I guess.
And for those watching, that's one of my rules as a Clockman.
Yeah. So the Clockmen of the artifact, each of them has 3 very idiosyncratic rules that they cannot break, or the artifact will stop working. So every single one of them has a set of 3 rules, unbreakable rules. Some of the Asimov style, you cannot harm humans. Some of them are things like that. You have to try and eat food every time you're around it.
If I could eat, that would have been delicious, I take it.
I mean, yeah, they're pretty good. I didn't really take you for a nut lover, but you know what? It's everybody has their own thing. I like eating them. If you want to smash them up against your sort of mouth area, that works too.
So
I'm not here to judge.
I am a nut lover.
Or a nut gobbler.
So while this is
I assume.
fascinating conversation, I think that we should kind of
Thank you.
just jump into things here. I'm Josephine
Hold on.
Dillon. You can call me
Your
Josie.
accent. Say that again.
Josephine Dillon.
Josephine Dillon.
You can call me
Josephine
Josie.
Dillon.
Everyone does. Folks back home call me Rosie Josie, though those are more people that are looking for me.
So just as a note for everyone, you have never heard a person who speaks like this.
Yeah, like
Is it?
Al is
it's-
like cued in, watching how your mouth moves as you form these words. Like that is just like dialed in.
Like Alvarez,
so
as you're
cool.
trying to like put down, like, where is she from? She's not from any of the suburbs of Labyrinth, you know.
Yeah.
She isn't from the next nearest city, which is Paradox, which is still like a difficult journey to get to. But she must be from somewhere further away, which is wild. You have never met someone from further away.
Where are you from?
I'm from kind of a larger landmass called Pinion.
Opinion, you say?
Interesting.
Would our engineer like to give us a hacker intelligence check?
Yes, please. It's only a 5.
Only a 5. Okay. Let's see. Because there is a chance that that's still okay. You meet it, which means you beat it. Pinion, you would know, used to be a very rich place. It had a lot of organic material, which means that that's expensive. They had dirt, they had water, you could grow plants there. They had birds there, like real birds. Hence the name Pinion. But something happened about 15-ish years ago that meant that a whole lot of their dirt turned sour and they couldn't grow crops on it anymore. So since then, a lot less imports have come out of Pinion, of like food and luxuries like that, and it's turned more to the more typical metal, plastic, rubber, oil, things that you can get pretty much anywhere. So it's a place that used to be very rich, used to be very prestigious, but there hasn't been a whole lot about it in like the last decade or so. Like pinion leather is still considered like the most exotically expensive leather you can get. Even more so now that there are far less cows.
So, if you're from Pinion, the place that has burned through all of their resources, what brings you
Burn
here?
through? Don't
Destroyed,
talk about it
burned
as
through?
if you know it.
I know more than enough.
All right. Did you live there?
No?
Then shut your pie hole.
Oh,
You don't know shit.
Shut your pie hole.
is it?
Shut your pie. Love him.
I lived in a place
so
called
much.
Pinion Lane once.
I love
I
this.
don't really think that's the same thing, but it has the same name.
Regardless,
Infighting does not calculate success.
Where I'm from isn't important. I burned
course.
through all the house that I could get where I was from. I needed a bigger game. So here I am. Some of y'all have the reek of desperation on you. I wasn't going to bring it up, but I understand that you need this job more than I do.
What does
I'm planning a bank
desperation smell
heist.
like?
Yay!
I'm planning a heist on the bank. Now, if y'all aren't up to the
Labyrinth?
task, then great. I'll find someone else.
Jinx is leaning very far forward in her seat. It's just like, tell me everything.
If
know you're,
Franklin, you can go ahead.
I know you're new to Labyrinth, but you're not going to find better people than who's in this room.
Good. So y'all aren't chicken.
No.
No, I
Why
am
would I be a
Clockmen.
chicken?
Means you're not scared. You're not turned away by something that someone says is impossible.
No, that just makes me want to do it more.
Good. You and I are on the same page.
Sweet.
By the way, she's going to reach
Franklin.
out and kind of take your hand. And she's going to kiss it. I didn't get your name, darling.
Hi, I'm Jinx. That's that's a cool handshake. We don't usually shake hands like that over here, but I like it.
It's very nice to meet you, Jinx. Continuing on, what exactly is it besides your base physicalities that you can bring to the table?
Well, I've got this, and Jinx pulls out like a little bag that would have thieves' tools, but instead of ones that you would expect to see, she's got like a little bottle with kind of a tapered opening. It looks like it has some sort of oily substance in it. It's basically Victorian era WD-40. Sets that on the table. A fanning set of thieves' tools, so it's almost like a Swiss Army knife, but it's just thieves' tools, and obviously a little more crude than a Swiss Army knife. Some of that tape stuff, a pocket watch that doesn't work, and a bunch of other random things.
Including Josie's
I
wallet.
got this on the table. Yeah. Tempted, but no, not yet. I got this. This is what I have on the table.
All right. Anyone else?
Anything is a weapon for me. I can also man a carriage.
Good to know.
Jinx raises her hand.
Yes.
Can I have a piggyback ride later? You're really tall.
She is a good passenger.
How tall is Jinx?
She's kind of on the shorter side, like around 5 foot, maybe 5 foot and a little bit of change.
I think this is the first time Drulo's been asked this question. Surprisingly, for how tall Z is. I suppose, if it doesn't get in the way of the job.
Yes! She just does like the arm pump and everything.
I am in
Wow.
if Franklin is in.
I'm in. And you asked what I bring to the table, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you want to get into the largest bank in the land, they've got a pretty tight security system. If you don't want to get caught by that, and if you need a little bit more information around, I think I'm the person you need in your team.
Good. Glad to hear it.
You couldn't quite see through me, so I think you probably have an idea of what I bring. But honestly, darling, I can be whoever you need me to be. Can get into places most people can't.
The Irish one.
And I can maybe even try and... Don't have that accent down yet. Sorry, I'm trying.
That's all right.
What do you bring to the table, Josie?
I'm a good planner. A sweet talker. I'm pretty good with a horse. And, in case we need any information in particular recorded, I got a couple upgrades that allow me to do that too.
Interesting.
So, Franklin, you would know that's a very specific upgrade. You would assume that is probably the most expensive thing that Josie has, including the horse, would be an upgrade that has some kind of recording feature. You assume it's either wax cylinders or vinyl, in which case you can probably hook something up to play or copy whatever she has without too much difficulty.
So these upgrades of yours, they look rather expensive. Why do you want to rob this bank? Doesn't look like you need the money.
No, I really don't. But a long time ago, someone told me I couldn't.
You like a challenge.
Yeah, that's why I'm here. I could care less about the money. I don't give a shit. I don't need to be rich. I don't need any of that. I just want to prove to the world that I'm more than the sum of my parts. And that no matter what security precautions or little fancy upgrades anyone has, no one truly is safe from me.
That was so hot.
I like you. I didn't think I did at first, but I definitely do now.
That's usually how I come across. Unless I'm trying to play you.
I
Were you
would be
trying to play
safe.
me?
You keep thinking that, darling. So, what I was thinking initially is the best way to get into something with a tight security system is to seem like we belong there. So the biggest thing that we're going to need is information on exactly who does. What it is we can work around to figure this sort of thing out.
Okay. Franklin looks over to Al. I think you're really good when it comes to getting into places and not getting noticed.
Shouldn't be too hard. It's a basic uniform, see how they patrol. Not a problem.
If you can get me a look at some of their credentials, I might be able to, forge something.
If I could get a hacker check with intelligence, please.
Of course. That is a 16.
16. Okay. So, this is the general information that Franklin has on the Grand Labyrinth Bank. Like, without any further research, this is just what you've got locked and loaded. First of all, they're handled by a private security firm. You don't know which one specifically, but you know that they don't hire for the bank. It is specifically from this one firm. So you would need to find a way to get their uniform, and that means you need to find out which firm it is. The bank is a private bank. You need to either have someone vouching for you to get you in through the door or already be a customer. They check at the door. You know that usually the bank holds around £1,000 in its vault. And they also have safety deposit boxes. You know the vault and the safety deposit boxes are not kept next to each other, so you would need to pick a target or find a way to get from one to the other before getting rumbled, essentially. You know that it has a reinforced basement. Part of the way you know these things is you've heard how other people have failed to rob this bank.
I think while I was in the clink, all of the people who I've been around were like, oh yeah, we tried to do this, but found out that this is how all of this is. I'm like, cool.
Very much so. It is famed for having an incredibly responsive security system. You know, it has some clockwork within it. You know that it has some clockmen guards, some human guards. You know, they have guard dogs, which is not a good start. That's sort of the general information on the bank. You don't know the name of the owner of the bank. You think it might technically belong to the royal family, which means if you do successfully rob this bank and they know it was you who did it, you need to get the hell out of this city and never come back.
That was the plan, my dear. So, Josie, or do you prefer Rosie? What is your...
Rosie Josie. It was just a commentary on both this and what I tend to wear. Josie
when you
is
point
my name.
When you point to your eye, Franklin kind of lifts up like the left of his hair, and you can see that he's got a Clockman eye, and it like is greenish and blue. So like okay.
Once again, Rosie Josie's just what they put on my wanted posters. So you can call me Josie, Josephine, whatever the hell you want.
Okay. Josephine. That gets a little complicated. If you want to make a name for yourself, then I guess Rosie Josie is the way to go. Probably Rosie for short. But, my dear, and I go through like the list of all the stuff that they have guard dogs. If we end up doing this, then we are possibly stealing from the royal family, which I have no problem in doing.
How terrible.
But
how could we possibly do such a thing to such nice, wonderful, charitable people?
Nice people.
I don't know if you can hear it. That was sarcasm, darling.
Fair.
Thank you.
Don't
Thank
understand
you for
sarcasm
explaining.
much. But yes, I believe that as long as we looks at everybody, as long as we all work together and get this job off the ground and at least do a little bit more planning beforehand, I think we can make this work. But everybody's gonna need a place to go or someplace to hide afterwards.
So as Franklin is sort of laying out these things, we see it in this series of clips. So it's like, you know, people go in and they say they were hired by the bank, and we see this guy like stride up to the door wearing a uniform and then immediately get shot in the head because no one hires from the bank. we see a group of people being like, and then they tried to blow their way in through the sewers, and we see a guy with like a trigger clicking it down, and there's this massive explosion, and as it explodes, it blows through a fake wall, and there's just a Clockman with a rotary cannon behind it who just goes, "That was a mistake." We see like all of these, like one by one, all of these ways that people get like wiped out by making these mistakes.
So we can't make mistakes, because if we do, either we end up in the clink or we end up under the labyrinth.
So then we won't make mistakes, I mean.
That is hard. You are humans. Mistakes
Franklin
are
kind of leans
probable.
in to see Rosie's reaction to that. Like, what you got to say?
But humans have ingenuity and creativity. So we will see what you can do.
I'm really good at thinking on my feet, so if something goes wrong, I can probably fix it, depending on what it is, I guess.
How does one think on their feet? Your brain is in your skull.
This
But
one's
you're
gonna be
standing on your
joy.
feet.
You're right, that saying makes no sense. Why did we say
Thinking
that?
and switching gears while doing something. Being
There's
able
two
to
of
quickly
them.
change course.
Switching gears and changing course. That makes more sense.
You're welcome.
I like her, Franklin.
They're growing on me.
So with that
Elder,
said,
you and I are probably gonna end up kind of close with all of this, considering the ability of what you can do.
Possibly.
So I hope you don't mind.
It's fine. I've worked with a couple troubled in my past, and you are far from the riffraff I've dealt with before. They
So
didn't
are we
have your
planning
smoke.
this sober, or do we have
Of
drinks?
course not. We can go back to the sticky gears if you would like to plan there. Foley does not care.
I can fight to get you all drinks for free.
He's really good at it.
I am.
All of my drinks are free. Don't worry about it.
the Sticky Gears isn't that far away, maybe 3 or 4 blocks. So it's a pretty fast jaunt to get from where you are currently over to your home base, essentially, Franklin. As you come in, you can see Michael Foll behind the bar, gives you a wave, and then sort of like does a quick head count and holds up like 4 fingers, like, you want 4 drinks?
I hold back up 5 because I will be taking Doulos.
So does like a solemn nod and dishes up some pints of beer, which he sends over with one of his nieces who is working at the bar. It's funny a table. The bar's not crazy busy. It's a workers' bar. It's after work. There are a lot of people who have stopped in for like a drink before they head home, or men who at this time period like don't have wives and therefore are unable to cook because Victorian era. So who are here to have dinner before they head back. There are a few pool tables. There are a few like dart boards. There is a radio that is playing some sort of like vaudeville type comedy show. So some music, some jokes, some like comedy songs, that sort of a thing, all in the background, leading to this sort of merry hum that makes you think that you probably won't be overheard just because everyone here is doing their own thing. And not just that, but you're here with someone that the owner is very fond of, and no one wants to make an enemy of the owner because then they won't be able to come back here and drink.
And George is definitely back. The hair has been messed up. And now, Franklin, I think you would definitely clock that, like, he sits and it's kind of that, like, sprawl. Like, he is man spread all the way out and the dopey smile. But, like, now that you know, you can tell, like, those hooded eyes are scanning the room and just constantly paying attention. Whereas before, they just seemed to be, like, staring off.
Oh,
So
George is back.
Franklin's like, so you have been scoping us out this entire time that I've known you.
Gotta know what people are up to and how they walk and talk and sit and dress.
I'm not mad at it.
Impersonate without looking.
Do a good job.
Franklin, are you sure you can handle both drinks this time?
The second drink, my love, actually is for Rosie. And I slide it over.
She'd take it and kind of cheers and drink.
At that point, Jinx looks at this exchange and goes, "Oh, she's right. She doesn't pay for her drinks. That's so cool."
Technically, it was my drink, so it is from me.
She still
Are you
didn't
going
pay for
to
it.
fight me on it, Franklin?
Not at all. Not at all, my love. Mm-mm.
That is what I thought.
He puts his Clockman arm on yours and just like, it is okay. You do not have to fight every person in the bar. Especially me.
I will not fight that unlucky person again. They were strangely lucky. The name lied.
Names do that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So I will say, here's a great opportunity for you guys to decide what you want to start looking into. So your hacker as your information gatherer is your easiest source to sort of start asking questions. But you can also start doing things like, if we want to know what company runs the security, how are we going to get that information so that we can sort of set things up for our next session in terms of all of your planning, gathering your supplies, getting your stuff together, etc. This is your opportunity to sort of ask every question, knowing that you'll get those answers over the course of your play.
Yeah. I think Al's priority is going to be, before the heist, as soon as possible, figure out either the security company or who hires for the bank itself so that he can actually be an employee for a day or two and get inside and like do all of that legwork so he can know some of the inner workings. And if we use that disguise as part of the way to get in, great, but wants to know routines, see it for himself before we go in.
Yeah. See, so to start with, trying to get the information on the security company, I'm going to ask for, is your plan to just sort of try and generally ask around? Does anyone know who the security company is? Is it finding a way to sort of get invited to go to the bank so you can try and get a look at a uniform? What's your general direction?
I think definitely, for starters, trying to find an excuse to get to the bank, to look at the uniforms, look at the badges, get what information I can back to Jinx to see what she can replicate, because while I might have the costume, if I don't get officially hired, I need her to make me some credentials.
Great. In that case, I'm going to get you to start with a grifter.
Yeah.
Agility.
We don't like that.
Because this is all about trying to, like, respond on the spot, find a way through, kind of flexibility.
Trying to think. Did my specialty is deception?
That'll help
would
you.
that work? Perfect. Okay.
Now, the bank is a very tough target. They have a D8 for well secured. They have a D6 for the bank. And they have a D8 for armed.
Yikes.
Oh, and they rolled very well. You will be rolling against a 16.
I got a 15.
15. So this particular route of you go to someone who you've spoken to before, and you're like, would you be able to invite me to the bank? And they go, absolutely, absolutely. And then they take you to the bank, and you find out that you've already cleared them out. So when they go to like try and enter the bank, they get turned away. As essentially like your account was closed, so you cannot come in. And this man's like clearly very embarrassed. He's like trying to talk up to you, but it's essentially a situation where he's not willing to admit that he isn't as well off as he used to be, even though you know why he isn't because you've convinced him to give you a lot of his money, which means he can't get you through that door. However, you do manage to get a look. You figure out that the security company must start with a P, because there's like a particular badge, but you didn't get sort of close enough to get a good look at it. You just saw the shape started with a P.
Yeah, I think little dismayed. It comes back and is like not terribly agile, but trying to draw the shape of the badge and kind of the how fancy the P is. It's like, sorry, Jinx, that's what I got.
I don't think I can do much with that, but what if I still have a piece or two of perfectly legally acquired loot? Maybe we could go in posing as somebody that wants to store that at the bank, and then that's how we get our in.
Safety deposit box.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Could I possibly set them up with Uncle Arthur to see if he knows anybody that could help with it?
Absolutely. So Giulio takes all of you to a very narrow, think like those New York stores where they're like very deep but very skinny. And at the front it looks like it's like an old antique store. But they take you through back and back and back and back until you come across a man sort of mid to late 40s, tomato red hair, wearing a bright blue suit, quite a handsome man. And just on your general alertness, you can tell that he has tattoos under the sleeves of his suit. So he must have at some point either been in crime or a sailor, just from the general vibe of this society towards people with tattoos. At this point, he's sort of giving off more the impression of a slightly effete, like fairly camp antique store owner. But when he sees Giulio, he sort of seems to relax a little bit. And he's like, oh, hello. Hello, my friend. How can I help you today? Do you have something to pass on for me?
My friends need, well, my colleagues don't know if they are friends yet. Need help with something for a job.
For a job? All right, my duck. Well, what can I do for you? Wait a second, that isn't George, is it? How did you like that rocking chair you got? Was it good? Did you like it?
It's
know George?
very peaceful. It just goes forward and back and forward and back.
Well,
forward.
George, you know, he found some stuff that had fallen off the back of a carriage a couple of years back. And, you know me, I'm always happy to pass along savings where I can to people I know. Poor chap, I understand it was a bit distressing for you at the time, but we got it all sorted out, didn't we?
The best. Like, you get the impression, looking at George, that he doesn't remember talking to this person.
Well, come on in. My loves, come in. Let me make some tea. Have a seat. And he sort of guides you back deeper into this warren of tiny rooms full of very expensive, big old wood furniture. The whole place smells like dust and wood polish and sort of slightly moth-eaten carpet. And the
You-
rest of you as well. Oh, Franklin. Still good to see you spending time with Franklin. Good to know. And
is a friend.
right you are. And he sort of leans over and leans up and attempts the like cheek pinch sort of a thing, but because Julo is a robot, instead he sort of just smudges his knuckle against where your cheek would be, in an affectionate gesture.
My cheeks are not pinchable.
I'll keep on trying though, won't I? And you can even see at this table there's very clearly a heavily reinforced chair that has been built that a clockman can sit in.
This is my chair.
I'm glad.
So, what can I help you with? Are you looking at moving something along? Are you looking for something in particular? You know, I know a lot of people who move a lot of things, and sometimes things go missing, and I happen to find them.
We need information
All right.
about the bank.
The Grand Bank?
Yes.
The big one.
Well, the Grand Bank, that's a bit rich for my blood, son. Grand Bank. What have I heard about it? All right, give me a hacker with willpower, please, Julo.
Okay. So D6 and a D8. Let's go.
Now, Arthur is very much on your side, so it's not going to be a very high DC.
Okay.
Oh, and I rolled a 1, which means you guys have just received an opportunity.
Okay. 'Cause
At some
I
point
rolled 14.
At some point in the future, you guys will have a D4 that you can add to things relevant to like stolen goods. Anything that you might be able to apply stolen goods as being useful to, you can add a D4 to.
Nice. I rolled a 14,
Yeah, that'll definitely beat his total of 5.
which is the highest on both die that I had for that. So
Very well done. Wait, how did you get a 14 with... Oh, a 6 in it, yeah. My room's like 2D7? What the fuck are you rolling? Good work, brain.
It's okay.
So Arthur will sort of like, okay, yeah, Grand Labyrinth Bank. Look, part of the reason I don't fuck with the bank is their security is run by Pendragon Armed.
You start.
And I know that you wouldn't know much about this, Julo, but Pendragon aren't the sort of people that you mess about with. They run security on the palace. They look after gene thieves, handle chirurgery, all of that sort of thing. These are the kind of people who breathe fire and have 4 arms and that sort of a thing.
I'm so sorry. I know that I know you've repeated yourself already. Could you run by the name of that security detail by me one more time?
Pendragon?
Pendragon, my love.
That's what I thought you said. Okay.
And because they work for the crown so closely, in fact, I think that it's the Empress's great nephew who owns Pendragon. They have pretty much a writ if they can do whatever they like within the city. Pendragon shoots you down in the street. The worst trouble they'll get into is for getting blood on the cobbles.
Well, then we don't get shot.
That is how I tend to prefer it. And he pours the tea for each of you.
How does, like, one get a job at the bank? Like, not the security part, but, like, that seems like a really safe place to work if Pendragon's just, like, yeah.
If Pendragon's looking after you, yeah, I don't think there's anything safer than a place being looked after by Pendragon. But if you wanted to work there, well, it depends. Be honest with me, my duck. Are you looking to work there for longer than a week or for shorter than it?
Oh, I don't ever stick to one job for too long.
All right.
That, like, seems boring.
I'm going to give this man essentially an intelligence check, because he knows there's something up about George generally. He's never asked about it because he's one of those people who's like, if I don't ask, no one gets mad at me. So even if I think there's something funky going on, I'm never gonna press, because then no one will get mad at me and I'll continue to live my comfortable life. But I think he's just trying to get a gauge of, how can I help? Like, what is the actual information you're looking for, even if neither of us will say out loud what that information is. So my question to you would be, does Alderos want this person to be able to find that information to actually help? Or are they really trying to hold that complete facade?
I think especially because he knows that George at least dabbles a little bit in the underworld, like, doesn't mind him. We're clearly doing some shady stuff, so there's no point in trying to completely keep this up.
Okay. In that case, could I get you to roll intelligence +4?
Okay.
All right, he didn't do too badly for himself. Uncle Arthur got a 12.
Good job, Uncle Arthur.
I got a 9 + 4, so 13.
13. So he will only know as much as you want him to know.
Okay.
So how much are you trying to filter through to him through this, like, polite conversation?
Yeah, I think just basically, like, clearly he knows something's going on. We're trying to get information about the bank. It would be nice if there was some obfuscation. I can't get that word out correctly. Around, like, it would be nice if we seem smart enough to not be trying to do the heist that we are doing, but clearly trying to do something that involves, whether that being trying to figure out how to figure out what's going in or out of a safety deposit box, or figuring out the best time to mug a patron or something like that.
Okay.
Or who has the biggest balance, and that's who we go and grift next, right? I definitely want it to seem more like a grift
so you're
than
you want him to think that getting into the bank is the information gathering, not the job, basically.
Exactly.
Okay. He'll sort of think for a moment, offers round like a plate of biscuits or cookies to you Americans, I suppose.
Jinx grabs like 3 immediately and starts dunking it in her tea.
Yeah. So it goes, right. So if you just want access for a few days, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, get in where you need to go, then I would think your best bet, considering you've got someone from far away, might be to come in as a case manager for your client who's just arrived with something important, who wants to put it into the bank. Because that gives you a good reason as to why she doesn't have any contacts in this city. Especially if you were both foreign.
How quick you think you can get that accent down, darling?
What accent? Just completely blank.
You know what? I'm going to go just quickly. I think I can hear someone at the front trying to get into my antique doorknob collection. Why don't I go give you guys 5 minutes to sort of catch yourselves together? And Arthur stands up and straightens his shirt and his tie and heads out to give you guys 5 minutes of privacy. There's very much this sense of he knows that you're not telling him the truth. He's not asking. He's not going to ask. He's never going to ask.
Good man.
Duolo's gonna turn to Josie and is going to be like, is there a reason for your reaction to Pendragon? Your face changed.
I've faced him before.
Did you win?
It's the only security detail I ever lost to.
That's boding well.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm not going to make that same mistake twice.
This just became more interesting.
Super interesting.
Would you like to tell us what mistake you made so we can make sure you avoid it?
Considering I was a kid, that might have been the problem.
There's some very clever kids in this town.
Uh-huh.
A lot.
Yeah, a whole bunch of them just stole all the shit that I stole earlier.
The professor, to name one.
The team that I was with weren't as well put together as this one. They got caught. And because of that, so did I. But I got out.
I don't mean to be insensitive, but is that, and kind of motions to where her scars are?
Most of them, yeah.
Like I said, you will all be safe as long as I am with you.
Answer your question. I think I could get it down. Might need you to talk at me.
Oh,
little bit
darling, I
longer.
could do a whole lot more than just talk at you.
Just raises an eyebrow.
You just tell me what you need. We'll figure it out.
Looks like we're opening a bank account.
Yes. My deal was a good one.
This means I get to fight.
Hopefully not.
If you have to fight while we're opening the bank account, we are in serious trouble.
That's
Yep,
actually
definitely
not
think
really
I
a
will.
bad idea, though. You make money from your
Explain.
fights, right?
Sometimes. Sometimes I do them for fun.
I would need to have a deposit ready and available. Flashing some coin would make it seem a lot quicker, like I have extra up my sleeve. Someone
Now
that
this is starting to
belongs
feel
there.
like a scam.
Fair enough.
You want me to fight?
You can hold on to the money, I don't care. I don't need it. In fact, it would make a lot more money for you, or it would make a lot more sense for you to be holding my money if you're the one that's supposed to be handling it. Right?
You make a good point.
You don't trust me, that's fine. I don't need to touch it.
I cannot touch it, but I trust you.
Been burned in the past. I'm just careful when people insist, sure, yes, all this money's in it for you. Just make sure you put in this much up front.
I don't blame you. All I need is just money for a couple replacement parts, and that's all. Other than that, you can keep a lot of it.
That
About that
sounds good to
time.
me.
Uncle Arthur returns and he says, "You have got a point there, though, my darling. You're going to need to be able to put down at least £6 as a deposit, just to show that you're going to be opening an account that's worth opening."
How much can I get from fighting?
That depends. Usually, Jolo, I assume you've been sticking to slightly safer, like not deathly fights. In which case you can usually win a couple of shillings. Like you're not going to be winning pounds on those sorts of fights. If, on the other hand, you went into the real dangerous fighting, the to the death blood sport type stuff, and you got people to bet on you, you could definitely win pounds with a single fight.
Franklin, we
Mhm.
might need some new parts. We're going to up the challenge rating of my fighting.
I have been asking you to do this for a while now. I would love to.
I can get you your money.
I do like watching Franklin work.
Thank you.
But we will need somebody talking people into betting on me. I don't lose.
Ooh.
Eh.
The people that don't bet, I can just go steal the stuff out of their pockets.
Exactly.
I was
Because they'll be
like,
distracted with the fight.
Yeah, I wonder who we know that's like good at talking.
Yes, I wonder.
I think we have a friend
George.
that is very good at talking, George.
I could also assist with this friend.
Uncle Arthur,
Yes, my duck.
can you find different combatants to go against me?
Well, if you're looking at getting into the dangerous stuff, you know that's mostly handled by the gangs. I don't really have any ins with the skeleton clique. And do be careful. I do worry about you.
I am fine. I am durable.
I know, but you're not invincible. And I'd hate to see you get involved with some of the stuff that the people who get really into the dangerous fightings get into. You got to promise me you're not going to start getting into any of that static gear. Which, for the rest of you, you would be aware is essentially like a Clockman drug. It's like super juicing with electricity to like have a higher capacity for a short-term fight. A bit like the equivalent of blood doping, essentially, but it has very bad side effects very quickly afterwards.
I have not done it before, but there is the saying, you must try everything once.
That's not the saying, my dear. That's not the saying at all.
Yeah, that's not a good... No.
So-
if I've got anything to do with it, we'll keep him away from that. We may just augment a couple knuckles here or there with an extra weaponry or two.
Oh, well, that's no problem, of course. But yeah, if you want to be asking about that, you might need to make some kind of contact with the clique. Or,
Oh, I know a person.
well, that sounds ideal. Do come by, let me know that you're all right.
I will.
All right. I've got some of these vintage magnets. Were you interested in any of them?
Yes.
Great. And that's pretty much your conversation with Uncle Arthur done.
That one would look real cool on your bicep.
I agree. Franklin,
Mm-hmm.
I do not need the money from this job. I was going to give my part to you.
Are you sure?
Would it be okay if I gave half of it to Uncle Arthur?
Of course.
Thank you.
Uncle Arthur's always been good to both of us, so I don't see why not.
I have fights to prepare for. Statistically, I am likely to win.
I have a quick question for you. If I'm going to try to convince people that perhaps some of your parts aren't working as well as they used to, is there anything in any part of you that whirs or clicks or does anything like that normally?
Z lifts up their like ragged shirt and you see the dents that have been fixed multiple times.
Okay.
This is their problem area. Z tends to get in trouble, and this is where people go to.
Most people that fight me are shorter than me. It is an easy to reach area while my fist reaches their face.
What would you say is your strongest part? Where if you get hit there, it's not really going to make much of a difference?
My shin, or what you would call a shin.
I could probably convince some people to go for your legs.
Also, interestingly, Clockman's head is pretty much entirely decorative. All of the important stuff is in the torso.
Oh yeah,
Your
knock
reactor,
that thing off,
your
it doesn't
processor. Yeah.
Franklin, you're very good at tinkering. Perhaps you could rig up something that would harmless that would smoke or spark randomly.
I think I can make something where there's smoke that might come out of your ears.
That
Make it
would
look like
be
you're
interesting.
malfunctioning.
That's what I felt like earlier. I'm trying to think of a way to describe that. What?
Smoke.
This is interesting. I like this plan.
It's because you get to fight.
Yes. But I also get to help my friends.
All right, darling. Nope, that's the wrong. All right, darling. We need to sit in a room and talk for a while.
Sounds good to me. How private are you hoping this room is going to be?
How private would you like this room to be?
My
I
heat
think you know.
sensors are picking up a rise in temperature.
We call those hormones.
Oh.
I keep trying to say it aloud. I can't stop laughing.
My chest. My chest.
So Jinx hearing this says, so can I like just listen to that conversation? Because you talk pretty.
Franklin's apartment can be pretty private.
No. I do not think that this type of conversation could be had in my building, especially because while they are having their conversation, we will be fixing your parts and making augmentations to you. I think we should be far away from this conversation, actually.
I would like to hear the conversation. I am interested.
Gonna be real boring. Just quick
Why
round
would your
fox jumped over lazy red dot. No, wait, that's wrong.
why would your place be bad for conversation? Are like the walls
It
really
has-
thin or something?
It has
Absolutely
like
not.
17 locks on the door.
Really, this is the
And
most
they're
autistic crew.
Picked up on that, huh?
Yeah.
I would just
brought
like
me
to...
on again. You think I'm not going to be constantly flirting with everyone else?
No, it's amazing. I love the tangled web of connections that's already forming. I am just going to remind Raven you wanted to bring up that Jinx knows somebody.
Yes.
Before you get too lost in the weeds of horniness.
Lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
I mean, in Jinx's defense, she is saying all of this assuming that they are just going to be talking back and
Yeah, no,
forth.
I'm aware. That's why it's bad. Poor Franklin is the only one who's like, you're not fucking in my place. And everyone's like, I don't say that.
Dulo doesn't understand that.
Yeah, exactly.
Listen,
Well,
only
anyways,
person talking in that room is Franklin.
No one said that was off the table.
I'm just imagining Duolo laying down on the floor, Franklin working on him while it's happening.
Genuinely, at the moment, it seems like Jinx has a crush on Josie, who has a thing for Al, who kind of has a thing for Franklin, who just wants people to stop getting distracted.
that seems about accurate.
Well, that's why
Amazing.
Franklin messed around with somebody. He ended up in jail. So
The freaking love
I'm
pentagram is a problem.
Oh, that broke me. Sorry. Yes. At some point, Jinx goes, well, before we have the conversation, private conversation, or group conversation, whatever conversation, I know somebody in the skeleton clique. They might be able to help.
Like, Al leans down very far because, like, 6 feet, which is tall for Victorian era, and is like, you have to be careful with the skeleton clique people.
Oh,
No, you have
I
to
know.
be careful.
That's why I only talked to the one person, because I helped them out when we were little, and then they helped me out, then I helped them out, and somehow among all of that, we became like besties. So they'll be fine. Talking to anybody else, I wouldn't want to do that. But
There's like a flicker of something across Al's face, and then those childhood ties go deep. If you trust them, I trust you.
oh yeah, no, I trust her. If something I do is going to end up with them screwing me over, she'll tell me before I do it. So it'll be fine. So we just want to make them arrange the fights, or are we trying to fix the fights? What do we want to do?
If we can, I lean in trying to be quiet so Dulo doesn't hear, because I know how they would react to this. If we could fix the fights, that would be preferred. Dulo is strong, and I can make some very great augmentations. But I do not want them to get hurt.
Me either. That's that seems like a good idea.
Win.
I'll see what I can do. I can't promise anything, but I'll have a conversation of my own with her, and we'll see what we can do.
The same kind of conversation as Josie and George?
Well, I
I
assume
hope
so.
Everybody is having conversations.
That's
That is
Franklin.
good.
These people are wild.
My poor child.
So how can I go have a conversation with Christian Candy?
Are you going on your own? Are you bringing anyone with you?
I think if anybody wanted to go with, Jinx would be perfectly fine with that, but she's not asking anyone to go.
I would say of our group, the only person who doesn't know how dangerous the skeleton clique are is Josie.
That is true. Jinx might actually do a sort of awkward. So I'm gonna go talk to this cool person. You want to tag along or something?
Could you give me 45 minutes?
Sure. Let me just look at my watch here. No, this watch I stole from somebody doesn't even work.
You haven't wound it in the last week.
Yeah, I know.
Since you stole it.
Exactly what happened.
All right, so once again, this private room is for everyone else's comfort, not mine. Any ideas? As she grabs Ambrose by the collar of the shirt, it starts to kind of walk.
While you're doing that, I'm just gonna push Dulo out the door.
We can have our own conversation.
We sure will, buddy. We sure will.
So
We're gonna talk about some things.
Just to be clear, are Josie and Alderose going to have their private conversation in the back of the antique store?
Mm-mm. I thought we left the antique store. And
I thought we did too.
Yeah. We don't need Uncle Arthur to be.
That's
know
one way to
us.
make this man uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So where are you going?
I am sure he has conversations all the time.
He's a very popular man.
That he does. That he does.
He's popular with me.
So where are you going?
I don't know. Josie doesn't know the city.
Would we just have gone back to the tavern and maybe rent a room for an hour? Slide a couple coins.
The Sticky Gears doesn't really have rooms for rent. The area that would be rooms for rent is Franklin's apartment.
When we get back and Franklin sees everybody trying to find a space, he's like, I guess you can use a portion of my apartment, but please do not touch anything.
Group conversation.
I mean, I don't mind if they use my place, because you seem kind of uncomfortable. with them having the conversation in your apartment for some reason, but like my place is nearby.
It's mainly because people tend to judge the amount of things I have in the apartment. That's all.
Oh, that's silly.
Why
would anybody judge you for that?
You say that now.
Anyways, you can use my place if you want to have a conversation. I mean, walls are pretty thick. I haven't had anybody complain when I'm, having yelling conversations with myself.
Good to know.
You
Where
can
is
have
that?
Conversations with yourself?
Yeah, like when you're thinking through stuff and then you can't think of the right thing and then you yell at yourself for not being able to think the right thing. Sometimes it kind of gives you a sort of like jump start.
Oh.
You should have
I
heard
thought
her
about
outrage
issues.
when she couldn't remember the word birthday.
My God, it was the worst day ever. I was
Especially
like,
since it was your birthday.
it's Ronald's, day that he was born.
The stuff that makes you older. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, couldn't think of the word birthday to save my life. So annoying.
Okay, fantastic. Well, going up to Franklin's apartment, it becomes clear why people judge him for it. In that he has a fairly nice 2-bedroom apartment that you can barely walk through for all of the gewgaws and gadgets and hundreds of drawers of different things and just everything stacked on top of each other. So it looks like this used to be a fairly nice, well-maintained apartment that then someone moved into and was like, how much furniture can I fit in here? Okay, double that because we can stack it.
He's a serial hoarder. It's bad.
Beds on beds.
It's bad.
Bed tar.
Franklin has like a triple-decker bunk bed, and he lives alone.
And as we're going through, I'm like, I'm sorry. This right here is my brother's. This is my mother's. Please sit anywhere but here. And he's like, sit anywhere but here. But everything that he's like, don't sit here is like all the shit to sit on.
You just motioned to all of it.
Don't sit here.
She just sits down right there on the floor. It's like, all right, I'll just sit here.
Just a one couch that is clear of stuff. Yeah, go and sit there.
This is fine.
I
Have
broke
you
that
met a
couch
lady
the last
named
time
Ethel?
I sat there.
Ethel?
No. You two would
I
have a
don't
lot in
think so.
common. She's lovely. If you had 20
thank you.
cats, you might be the same person.
As you say that, you just
also
see
can.
through one of these arched windows, because this is up in the eaves of the house, right? So there's one of those windows that's set at an angle, and through it you just see a very large cat run across the rooftop.
That's Gertrude. She's not mine. However, she frequents and I feed her.
So long as she's not
his.
Lucy.
You're not sure, Alderose. You're just not sure. She's
You
the
always
same
gotta keep an eye
color.
over it. I call her Gertrude. Her name might be Lucy.
You seem nervous, Al.
Lifelong sworn enemy.
Your
You two
lifelong
may-
sworn enemy is a cat?
You've not met this cat.
No,
I mean,
we have not.
I got threatened by a bunch of 10-year-olds today, so I guess I get it.
So
When are you going
for
to stop
guys-
stealing from their territory?
When it stops being fun.
So
I
for you
thought
guys to
private
have
conversation would
a good private conversation, Franklin goes back to the second bedroom and he opens it and it is pristine. There is a single bed in there and there's just a couple toys on a shelf. This was his brother's room and he keeps it very neat and the only place where there's not a lot of stuff.
Bit dusty, bit unused. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been unused for about 2 years.
Al looks at it and then looks at Franklin with just very soft eyes. There is obviously an understanding, but doesn't comment because that's not very proper.
while you are having your conversation, I will start working on the augments for Dulo.
I am already laying down.
I see. Okay.
All right, so could I get a hacker check from Franklin for the Dulo augments? Because Dulo, you are helping, you can give Franklin an extra d6 to add to this roll. For our 2 grifters, if you are actually doing grifting work, then you'll do a roll for it. If you two are hooking up in this man's missing brother's bedroom, you can do that, but I will be judging your characters for it. There will be no mechanical advantage or disadvantage to it, but just know. But if you're actually doing the grifting work, I want a grift roll from Al, and because you are helping, you can actually lend Al your grifter dice, Josie. So whatever that would be. I think it's a D8 for you, is it?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah.
A D8.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Al is-
pick your preferred attribute to use for this as well.
All right. Good.
Would I be adding intelligence to this?
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Okay. And since I'm in my apartment, would I be able to use my signature asset, which is
Absolutely.
my collection of nonsense?
Yeah, you go through and find like an old like little smoke bomb, and you're like, okay, if I tape this under this plate, we can like set a fuse that will go after a certain amount of time. Or like,
Yeah, like a time detonation type of thing.
yeah.
While everybody's doing that stuff, Jinx, who is just sitting on the floor, just calls us like, okay, have a good conversation. I'm just gonna have a conversation with myself over here.
Yeah, excellent. You can probably also find a bunch of little clockwork toys and stuff to play with. Knowing
Oh hell
Franklin.
yes!
She's
absolutely
going to
doing
touch
that.
all the things in your apartment.
Yes.
Nothing is going to be not touched.
Yeah.
I close the door of like where you guys are. I turn around and I just see she's going through all of this. It's just like you know.
Sticky
I
fingers.
should have known that this would happen because exactly sticky fingers.
They're so cool. I gave them all names. This one's
He's already
Penelope,
like
and this
messed
one's
with
Zachary.
the dials on the wireless to like change your radio station, everything.
Yeah.
So Franklin was going to have a little bit of a meltdown, but when you said that you gave them names, that's something his brother did as well. So he's like,
Oh.
it's fine. It's perfectly okay at that point. He's like, whatever you want, it's okay.
You cannot name that one.
You do
Its
you,
name
boo-boo.
is Jericho.
Oh, okay, cool. I think Jericho's got a thing for Penelope, but Penelope has a thing for Rosa, who's over here. But Rosa has a thing for Ronald, who's over there.
What thing do they have?
You know, like a thing,
Aw.
like a like they're into each other kind of thing.
They have
Into
romantic
each
feelings.
other?
Yeah, that one.
Romantic,
Ah,
yes. Mhm,
romance.
Or just horny
Yeah.
feelings.
They
Could
have
be,
horns.
two in
or
the room.
both. Sometimes it's both.
Let's get that hacker check.
That check runs at a 17.
At 17, did you get any ones?
No, I did not.
Fantastic, good to know.
I got a 2 and a 3. Real close.
Just you guys are dodging the consequences of your actions very well so far. What about our grifters? Did you guys make a check?
I wanted to ask, since I'm not technically deceiving or being a master of disguise, but I'm learning, so I can do that. Do either of those apply?
No, but I will let you make a temporary asset of a D6 of this accent that you can then
Okay.
add later to other things.
Okay. So, 15, 19.
19. Very good. Yeah, make yourself a D6 of opinion accent, which is a temporary asset. It will last until the end of this con.
Excellent. Yeah.
And,
For the record, Al will not make a move, but things will happen if Josie does.
Oh, they'll happen somewhere else.
Just you guys look around and there's just like a sad teddy bear. You're like, we can't do this here.
Not here.
We can't do this here.
There's an alleyway somewhere with my name on it. It's fine.
And I will say for our hacker, if you would like to also make a d6 of a timed distraction that you can then use during Duelo's fight as well. So you've got a temporary asset as well.
Okay. I will add that over here.
Fantastic. And with that said, we're just up on 2 o'clock, so we can probably get through our last scene of speaking to Christian Candy, and then we'll close it there knowing that we'll come back to a fight next session. How does that suit everybody?
That sounds amazing.
Excellent. So we have Jinx and Josie are the ones going to the click, is that right?
I believe so.
Yep. Everyone else values their bones too much. They're staying home.
I argue that Duelo goes as a point of protection.
If your other people are fine with it, I don't see why they'd stop you.
Yeah. That's totally fine.
I think Al and Franklin are grabbing a drink.
Oh yeah, after this conversation, please. Okay.
They are having a private conversation of their own.
Oh, Father. Okay, so tell me how George came about.
I needed to be inconspicuous. Wanted just someone who could just be a barfly in a not sexy way. And George.
I think you failed at that, darling. You're very, very sexy, by the way. And I think their conversation just devolved.
And the camera just cuts. So you are headed to the Queen's Head on Stump Street, which is your friend Christian's usual haunt. As you get closer, could I get an alertness? Let's say alertness grifter from all 3 of our people headed that way.
I got a 11.
11? Okay.
Can I include my espionage?
Yes, that would be relevant here.
So I got a 1 on one of the die.
Excellent.
And I got a 4.
No.
Okay. I'm going to make a consequence called Gang Territory, which is worth a D4.
Oh.
I thought
Maybe
for a
I should
second
have
one
had
of the
more
numbers on the die was a 1, but it turns out it was a 7 on my D8. So thank fucking God for that. So it's 18.
18. So all 2 of our humans, Julo does not notice because they are very focused on just like watching around you guys, keeping an eye out for people. But you will notice that as you get into this area, you see more and more people wearing black and white, and more people wearing skulls as like rings, earrings, a couple of people with tattoos of skulls. There are like buildings that have like a little decorative filial above the door of a skull, or like something in the window of a skull, just decoratively, fairly regularly. Like most of the businesses have some note of there being a skull, and more of the dangerous seeming people around are wearing black and white, and the more dangerous of those dangerous people have skull tattoos, earrings, rings. You see a guy with a skull-topped cane, like a silver skull on top of his cane. Which, Josie, you know enough, you're like, gang colors. Those are gang colors and gang markings, even if you don't know the gang or the marking. Jinx, you're like, oh yeah, there are a bunch of people from the clique out today.
Yeah. Jinx is gonna go, oh, fuck, right. Hold on. And she'll pull out like a skull brooch that Christian gave her and put it on her jacket. As like the sign that like, I'm allowed to be here.
It does to Josie's eye, that's real bone. The little brooch that Jinx has fastened to her like collar is made of some kind of actual bone. You get closer. The queen's head, the shingle above the door is a skull wearing an elaborate, like very European style crown, with an apple in its teeth, vaguely reminiscent of how you would do like a suckling pig at a table. And you get the feeling that perhaps the fact that this bar is called the Queen's Head is not, as it is in most places, like a sign of respect to the monarchy. Stepping inside, you can hear the sound of a trio of musicians playing some music, smoke in the air. You can see a pair of young women behind a counter, twins, who both have their hair in like fairly elaborate updos, working in very fine like concert with each other. They're like passing things off, moving around each other with great ease. And you can see sort of circled around a pool table in one corner, a large amount of these people in black and white. But here, it's even less subtle. Like, it looks almost as costumey as like almost like a marching band uniform, like all black, white lines across the chests of all their jackets, in a way that sort of straddles the line between military uniform and like rib cage shirt, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you see your friend Christian, who is a person of indeterminate gender, with long dark hair that they've got in a braid that starts very high on their head and goes all the way down to like mid-thigh. They're wearing this black jacket with the white stripes across the front. Lots of ivory, it looks like ivory brooches, ivory jewelry, a tattoo of a skull on their hand, like the back of their hand, with a Roman numeral 13 on the skull. Very tight, like black trousers, white line down the side of the leg, tall boots. Josie, just looking at the boots, you're like, oh, those are shit kicking boots. Those are the boots of somebody who kicks people's teeth in with those boots, sort of a thing. Which Julo you'll be easily able to pick up as well. And Julo, you would know just from the reputation amongst the fighting rings, you don't fight the skeleton clique because they don't know how to be civilized about it, basically. Like, you go to have a punch up with a skeleton clique person, they stab you. You go to like have any kind of rules, they just ignore the rules because they're gonna win.
Now Dula wants to fight them.
Jinx is walking through here, trying really hard to look cool and like she fits in. Not because she's actually trying to impress any of the gang, but she's trying to impress Josie. And it's about like Pinkie Pie trying to fit in at like a really dark goth party.
Yeah.
Like she's doing the bisexual finger guns at people and like is probably absolutely getting stares of like, why does Christian let this girl come here?
You see someone who's clearly new go to like stand up and someone else puts their arm out to be like, no, don't. Like, we know, but don't start.
Yeah, and seeing Christian, she will just walk up and be like, hey, what's up, Cece?
And this person turns around and the braid like flicks out quite far, and actually hits like the person next to them. But when they see you, this like a very bright smile lights up their face, which lets the other two see that they have sharpened teeth.
Hot.
Sorry. They have sharpened teeth, very heavy, like gothic type eyeliner, and they immediately pull Jinx into a big hug, and then sort of pull back and like, oh, Jinx, what are you doing here?
Well, it's a funny story. I stole a bunch of jewelry. a bunch of 10-year-olds threatened to beat me and break my legs.
Which ones?
It was, and she'll rattle off like every one of their names. Like she actually remembers them.
Okay, and you see Christian turn and like snap her fingers, and like 5 guys sort of file out of the bar. It's like, interesting.
Yeah, but where are they going?
Oh, just off to deal with some problems. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Anyways,
who are your friends? I don't think I've met them before.
Oh, this is Dulo. Dulo's really cool. They like nuts. And this is this is Josie.
Josie.
She's really hot.
She is, yeah.
I am Dulo, and I offer my hand.
Yep, they will shake your hand.
Except Dulo will do what Josie did to Jinx the first time and bring it up to their not moving, not opening mouth, so it just clanks against the metal.
Yeah, like all of the rings like rattle against the front of your faceplate.
So
you
cute.
have expensive rings.
Oh, thank you. I made most of them myself.
So you are talented.
Thank you. I can see why you like them. Christian says to Jinx. And Josie, was it? I hope you're treating my friend Jinx well.
I'm trying to.
Well, that's good to hear.
It's easy to spot someone who deserves it.
Right? I tend to find that people think that, you know, she's such a nice girl. We should just take advantage of that. And I really hate to see it, you know? And like, as she says that, the smile just disappears and she locks eyes with you. And there is just a moment of, could you give me a grifter alertness, please?
Oh my goodness. Jinx is bright red through all of this, by the way.
Once again, would espionage factor in here?
No.
Okay.
They're not trying to hide this at all.
That's fair. 16.
16. You're not just looking into the face of a murderer, you're looking into the face of a cannibal, and you are hanging out with, it seems, the one person that this person genuinely likes outside of their gang of weird, freaky cannibal murderers.
Uh-huh.
And there is definitely an undertone of, and if you fuck with her, I will eat you. And then they smile again. They're like, well, of course, any friend of Jinxie is a friend of mine.
Oh yeah, Josie and I are going to be great friends.
I'm sure.
Are you two like Jericho and Penelope and Ronald and the group?
Oh, did you get yourself a new Ronald, did you?
Pointing at CC and Jinx.
I think at that point that finally clicks, and also what the conversation talk was about clicks. she just somehow turns even more red. She's like, something like that. Yep.
Hormones, understood.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. Well.
Anyways, Cece, the reason we're here, not to talk about my personal life, apparently. So we need to get Dulo here into some the high stakes matches, and
Oh yeah.
if possible, maybe some slightly rigged high stakes matches.
Great.
Why
We don't
would
really
rig them?
organize it that far. Wait. Tell me, Dulo, can you bleed?
No.
Hmm.
Who
That could be
said
a problem.
who said
could
to rig them? We don't need to rig them.
Good, because we don't do that. Look, the lack of blood could be a problem. A lot of our audience are very involved in the murder side of it.
I bet I could rig up some like little packets of something that looks like blood, and we could like hide that under their shirt.
Could work. I've got some people with too much blood. We could definitely organize that.
Oh, well, that's good. That's a cool coincidence.
Yeah. Oh, you know, there's always someone. Yeah, we
Too
could
much
probably
what?
get
I didn't
you
even know that was a
in.
thing.
Oh, it can be. Yeah. All right. Yeah, we can get you in midnight tonight. Down at the. Let's see. And she pulls out a little black notebook and begins flicking through it. Down at the. Yeah. How about you head down Walker Lane, under that tattoo shop there. Midnight. Password's Death's Head.
That's such a badass password.
Thanks. But you go, bring your friends with you. It'd be nice to catch up for a bit. Look, just don't bring anyone who's gonna have any problems with people dying, okay?
No,
I don't have a problem.
well, maybe Franklin. But no, I think it'll be
Wait,
fine.
you don't mean Franklin, what the gear monkey, do you?
Yeah, you
He
know,
can
now
get
that you
over
mention it, that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
He can get over it.
Oh, I thought he was still in the clink. All right, yeah, you go ahead, bring him. Maybe let him know. No, it'll be fine. He'll be right. I'm sure they can both be adults about it.
If somebody touches Franklin, there will be a problem.
Hey, I'm sure that no
And-
one would put their hand anywhere that it isn't wanted, or else it'll get chopped off.
For Josie and Jinx, I think that's the most human you've ever heard Duolo's voice sound.
It's amazing.
Like there was almost no robotic sound when it came to that threat.
Interesting.
Look, I will say, before we can put him in, put them in? Them in? I'm sorry, bit difficult. Before we can put them in, we'll need you to put down some money in terms of reserving him a spot on the roster.
Okay. We could probably do that. Like how much?
6 shillings.
Is that an amount that Jinx would likely have?
It's pretty stiff. That's about £0.50. So it's expensive, but you guys could probably pull that together and it would be most of your available funds at the moment.
Okay. In that case, Jinx will turn to Dulo and Josie and sort of like sidebar for a second. Be like, is that something you all would be okay with? For like, I'm happy to pool whatever I can, but I don't have that much on my own.
I mean,
I can
we're
give
planning
him
on getting it
money
back anyway.
plus more.
That's true. Okay, cool. And then Jinx comes back to Christian as if that whole thing was invisible and
Yeah.
not able to be heard. It's like, yeah, we can definitely do that.
They definitely have like a very charmed smile, seeing that interaction. Like, all right, fantastic. Well, I'll see you tonight. I'm on the door until 12, so if you come by before that, I'll be the one who checks you in. And
Okay.
they will lean in, give you a big hug, a kiss on the cheek that leaves you with like bright black lipstick. And we'll essentially like try to get you to stay to play around a pool, but I assume you guys have to head off shortly after.
Yeah, Jinx will very politely decline, but take a rain check on it.
Yeah. I think Duolo, as they're leaving, turns around and goes, "All right, see you later, friend." And then
Yeah.
continues to walk.
And again,
Um,
she shoots that very toothy, threatening smile after Josie.
As they're walking away, Jinx will lean over to Josie and be like, so yeah, that's just, one of my best friends who's like, really badass and cool and stuff. So no big deal.
Yeah, badass. You're where they eat people, right?
What?
You're
I
aware that they're cannibals?
I don't think they're cannonballs.
Darling. I need you.
I don't-
I need you to sit and I need you to think. Because I clocked that in about 30 seconds. Can
They
you
had
think
sharp
of
teeth.
any possible past interactions that you might have had that seemed a little off? Have you eaten anything they've made you?
No. They generally
Probably for
like
the best.
we usually go out for dinners and stuff. Like to restaurants and stuff. I don't think they eat people. I mean, I know they kill a lot of people, but I don't think they eat them.
You know, you're real pretty.
Oh, thanks. You're real
welcome.
pretty too.
Thank you.
I think they have a thing for you. Looking at Jinx.
Who?
Your friend.
Cece? Oh, we've been friends for like ever. Really?
They seemed like they wanted to have private conversations with you.
Now, when you say private conversations, do you mean private conversations or like private conversations?
I do not understand the inflection of your voice. I mean private conversations.
Okay, do you mean
Yeah,
private
private
conversations or they're going to do
Al.
adult fun things?
Oh, did you finally
Right.
understand that?
The
Yeah, I
private
caught that.
conversations of Al and Josie.
Gotcha. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm going to put that one on hold with the whole Cece thing. And yes, I did figure out what conversations meant about halfway through the actual conversation we were having with Cece back there. I feel really stupid now.
All right, so as you guys make your way back out of the section of town that the Skeleton Click controls, you see less and less of the black and white, less and less of the skulls everywhere. Jinx puts away her little scrimshawed bone skull pin, and you reunite with Franklin and Al back at the sticky gear. We're going to pull back, and as the camera releases and heads up into the sky, where we see that massive white glowing moon overhead, lighting up the entirety of the artifact as it twitches and whirs, all of the gears moving. We're going to leave our game there for the week. So that's where we'll end it. Thank you everybody so much for watching. I'm Ran. I've been your GM. We've just been playing the Grand Labyrinth Heist, which is a Nerdsmith's Limited Presents production that we ran in the Leverage system. If everyone would like to give their outros, I'll then very quickly tie things up and let you all go off for the week. So if we could have our goodbyes from our players.
Yes, thank you all. I am Kay, she, they pronouns. You can find me across the internet at KDamnPhyr, KAYDAMPHYR, on the twits. Chaotic Wholesome presents in the chat. I do lots of TTRPG stuff. I was playing Alderos, the grifter. And you can find me every other Wednesday at the Emergency Power Podcast, which is a homebrew Starfinder campaign where I play the worst character in history. If you need disaster queers in outer space, we've got it. At Chaotic Wholesome Presents, every Tuesday, we do the Table Talk Show. For June, we've got a whole bunch coming up for both Pride Month and for... it's the day after my birthday. Juneteenth. So come on by for that. And thank you all. This has been a treat. I knew it was going to be interesting. Didn't expect to get this horny. It's great.
I'm so sorry that it got so horny. It's not my fault, but hello, lovely people. My name is Keon, and I played Franklin tonight. If you are looking for me and if you enjoyed all of the shenanigans, you can find me on all of the internets at Brother Keon, BRUTHAQUEON, or if I'm down in chat, is Brother Neptune. I am starting a horror campaign in the Trophy Dark system this Sunday. And if you want to catch that, that will be on Twitch at Batty Bards. And yeah, I'm also in another actual play, but that is on hiatus because my best friend decided that she was going to have my goddaughter. So we are waiting. But yeah,
How dare she?
I had,
As
I
reasons
had so much
go.
fun tonight. Hey, you know,
She just decided that.
she just 9 months ago just decided to have a baby. It's
For
fine.
the moment.
We had a serious conversation.
a private conversation.
Anyway, I love you guys. This has been great.
All right. Hi, I'm Jenny. I use she, they pronouns. You just saw me playing Josie or Rosie Josie, the mastermind behind this entire little kerfuffle. I do not apologize for the horny. I am asexual. It will come out. It happens. I need to make all of my characters horny all the time. So
It's true, I've seen it.
you can find me on Nerdsmith on Fridays outside of our hiatus currently, as we are going between the two separate campaigns for Horde of the Dragon Queen in Dragon's Crown, where I play a similar but much meaner character. You can also find me on Jar of Rebuke as both an assistant script writer, editor, and voice actor for Dr. Jamie Everett. Jar of Rebuke is a queer horror podcast. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. Otherwise, I am a voice actor and a D&D character artist. So if you are looking for commissions or someone to be a part of your project, you can find me usually at CeruleanSiren19 at twitter.com or X, I guess. Or you can find me at CeruleanSiren97 on Blue Sky.
Shitter.
Hello, everybody. I am Derek. I use they, Z, and he pronouns. I have been a catalyst for the horny here tonight, and I will not apologize. I have been playing Duolo that uses they, Z pronouns, the Clockmen hitter for our crew. You can find me over on Derek Does RP over on Twitter and TikTok and all that fun stuff, or Deathlight TV on Instagram, or on my very own AP, Queers and Spears, or QNS World of Saluna, where we have over 100 episodes of content in a homebrew world telling queer stories. That's currently running a rebellion campaign. We've killed gods, we've become gods, we've done plenty of things. You can find us over there. And it has been a pleasure to bring Duolo to you all.
I'm Raven Evermore. You've watched me play Jinx. I also do not apologize for any of the horny or the gay panic, because it's hilarious. That was super fun. I had a great time. I'm really looking forward to the next session. I am a professional game master, a game designer. I do voice acting, and I write stories, and I am also the anthology editor for Neon Devils. I don't think I have anything upcoming other than this stream for a little bit, but you can find my writing over on my Coffee, which is just RAVVYN. And then you can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky under @the RAVVYN. Yeah, I think that's everything.
Great. So I'm Ran. I use he, him pronouns. I've been your game master for this game. I'm a writer, a game designer, and a general tabletop enthusiast. And I'm on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, etc. at Ran Plays Games. And you can keep an eye out for my upcoming horror scenario, The Copper Pyramid, which is going to be published in the next 2 to 3 weeks. If you are interested in eldritch horror set in the 1950s with a lot of creepy plants. And if you're interested in it, I've actually run it for Nerdsmith before, prior to publication, so you can actually check out the old stream of that game and see if it's something you'd be interested in running or taking part in yourself. Thank you so much. We'll see you again next week on Thursday night for everyone else in the world, and Friday morning for my fellow Australians. Have a great week. and come back ready for more clockwork shenanigans when we go do some illegal gambling. Goodbye, everybody.
I'm gonna fight.